Greetings, superior beings, greetings, supreme being. We are all the human race. Our common enemy is death. I'm Ulrich Hoffman. This is Try Something.Vegetarian. There. And this is the broadcast. Is Trump a crypto Jew? Several people think Trump is a crypto Jew. Could they be right? So, what am I going to cover in this broadcast? First, I want to make a quick statement that you could argue it doesn't matter if somebody is Jewish or non-Jewish, equal rights for all. And some people think that it matters, and I'm going into why some people think it matters. What I'm going to cover is, for example, Crypto-Judaism. And there are at least two Jewish sources that claim that top Shebbe Goyim, Harog, the Talmud, top Shebbe Goyim, Harog is found in the Talmud, basically, so it's written, so it's kind of hard to deny this. And I'm going into top Shebbe Goyim, Harog, what it really means. Even the best of the non-Jews must be killed, even the best of the gentiles in wartime. So there's also another source that claims that that's only in wartime. So let's see. So killing gentiles is forbidden. TalmudFaithWeb.com. I'm going into that as well. So that's one Jewish source, and the other one is viciousbabushka.com. Top Shebbe Goyim Harog, what it really means are Shimon ben Yochai taught kill, between brackets, even the good among the gentiles in wartime. Okay. So, many people are convinced Trump is a crypto Jew because, one, the Trumps changed their name from Drumpf, German Jewish name, to Trump. Two, both of Trump's parents died in a Jewish nursing home. And here we see a picture of his parents. And three, Trump's brother was in a Jewish fraternity at college. Crypto-Judaism is the secret adherence to Judaism while publicly confessing to be of another faith. Practitioners are referred to as, quote, crypto-Jews, unquote, origin from Greek kryptos, hidden. Oh yeah, the statement I wanted to make is, if there's anything anti-Semitic in my broadcast, or you think it's anti-Semitic, please let me know in the comments, and I can remove this broadcast. So I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm quite anti-fascistic, anti-imperialism, and we see these illegal wars in the Middle East with the depleted uranium babies making terrorists, and I think these illegal wars must be stopped, and that the money should be invested in controlling all factors that control aging, creating Olam Haba, the world to come, a sort of paradise on earth in which maximum fulfillment is bestowed upon all humans. Was Ivanka's conversion staged to hide Trump is Jewish? Well, if the father is Jewish, of course, halakha dictates that the mother determines who is Jewish. So if Trump is Jewish, that doesn't make Ivanka Jewish. So she had to convert if her mother wasn't Jewish. And how was Trump's brother able to join a Jewish college fraternity? I also wanted to get that wiki article that goes with that, but perhaps I can do that during the reading of the Crypto-Judaism article. So it matters if Trump has planned a world war to reduce the global population to 500 million and to impose a totalitarian global government to rule the world from Jerusalem. So that's basically the main reason for this broadcast: prevent World War III and create universal peace, take a shortcut to controlling all factors that control aging, achieving negligible senescence. I think that a world war would set them back perhaps decades. According to some, it will take 30 years. And because there are also books of Ingersoll Lockwood, one of them written in 1893, long before Trump became president, is entitled Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. And Baron Trump is his son, of course, and there's another one, 1900 or The Last President. And these things are covered in my previous broadcast: the Cancer Scalar Orb, Armageddon, Moshiach, Messiah, Trump labeling the official Iranian army a terrorist group, putting them on the same level as ISIS. The third temple coin, that's this one basically, which shows the third temple on one side, and on the other one King Cyrus and Donald Trump. That's at the bottom, and a menorah. So, and that's just $150, and the silver one is $50. This is just a copy, but it has real gold and it's very cheap, so I thought, let's go for that one then. Oh, I turned off the picture show. Well, I think we've seen that now. So then I can just go to the Crypto-Judaism article of Wikipedia, the CIA Vatican edited encyclopedia. So these are the three reasons, and deliberately I'm not showing any anti-Semitic sources, but the original source that made me think that it could be true was somebody in the chat who wrote about Drumpf. Let's see if I can find it. That's just the title I copied because the thumbnail wasn't working for this broadcast. So he wrote, that's Martin Webb wrote, Drumpf is a crypto Jew. Drumpf's brother was in the Jewish fraternity at college. So perhaps I should first check that. Drumpf's brother, Jewish fraternity. Attending Lehigh University, he joined a Jewish fraternity, Sigma Alpha Mu. Fred Trump Jr. was Donald Trump's older brother. He died in 1981. While attending Lehigh University, he joined a Jewish fraternity, Sigma Alpha Mu, even though he was not Jewish. After he graduated, he was unable to work with his father in his family business, so he flew planes for Trans World Airlines. So is that even possible to join a Jewish fraternity if you're not Jewish yourself? Sigma Alpha Mu, Sigma AM, or SEM, commonly known as SEMI, is a college fraternity founded at the City College of New York in 1909. I'm reading this for the first time, so though initially founded as a Jewish organization, the fraternity dropped its religious affiliation and became open to men of all faiths in 1953. The fraternity was originally headquartered in New York City, where it was founded. Today, its headquarters are located in Indianapolis, Indiana, along with many other fraternities. Since its inception, Sigma Alpha Mu has initiated more than 67,000 members at 150 active and inactive chapters and colonies across the United States and Canada. It is one of three major national international social fraternities to have been founded at the City College of New York, the others being Delta Sigma Phi and Zeta Beta Tau. Founded November 26, 1909, 109 years ago. Colors purple, white. Makes me think of Prince and the British Queen. So Niagara Falls were lit purple when Prince died for the Queen's birthday. So many people wrote about the purple rain after that. But let's read, so you can all study that for yourselves. Crypto-Judaism. So that's it. Qua people that are convinced that Trump is a crypto-Jew, want Trump changed his name, or the Trumps changed their name from Drumpf to Trump. Both of Trump's parents died in a Jewish nursing home, and Trump's brother was in a Jewish fraternity at college. So there were three people, two of which I cannot mention the name because they may be anti-Semites, and the person that wrote that in the chat as well. So is anything really proving that he is or is not Jewish? And does it matter? You could argue it doesn't really matter. So there are people that want to reduce the global population to 500 million. And according to citizens.action.network on Facebook, all intelligence agencies are Masonic and controlled by the Jesuits. And can anybody disprove that to me as well? Can anybody disprove to me somehow that Drumpf is, that his parents, that his mother was Jewish? So let's read the Crypto-Judaism article.
Crypto-Judaism is the secret adherence to Judaism while publicly professing to be of another faith. Practitioners are referred to as crypto-Jews, origin from Greek kryptos, hidden. The term is especially
So then the question is also if Jews were prosecuted, if there was a reason for that, and what that reason was. The Jesuits were also expelled from 80 countries, and they claimed it was for political insurrection, etc., but they've tortured 50 million innocent people to death in their Inquisition. And I've covered why religion is an abomination, not religious people. They were misprogrammed during their youth by their parents. And when they are young, then their brain is like a sponge, soaking up everything the parents tell them. So that's why many people assume the religion of their parents. So in Israel, most people maybe adhere to Judaism or Christianity, and then you have the Palestinians, perhaps Islam is dominating there, and in Europe, I think Christianity, and worldwide 33% of us, this is very roughly 33% of us are Christian, 22% of us are Muslim, and 0.2% of us are Jewish. Another interesting statistic may be that 75% of us are mulatto, 75% of humanity is what they call mulatto. And 25% of us are black and white. And it is kind of hard to find the information with Google. But it's proven by the fact that India and China each have 4 times more citizens than the US. So that's why 75% of us are mulatto. US has about 327 million citizens, and India and China 1.4 billion. Okay, well, I just turned it on because I wanted to say this, and it looks kind of weird when I show this screen. But let's continue reading. I forgot what I was talking about, basically, so then it's better to continue the article.
Applied historically to Spanish Jews who outwardly professed Catholicism. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, also known as Anusim or Marranos. The phenomenon is especially associated with Renaissance Spain, following the 6th of June, 1391, anti-Jewish pogroms and the expulsion of the Jews in 1492. 6. As well as this, the term is applied to Jews in the Ottoman Empire known as the Donman, who outwardly conformed to Islam.
So basically they were leading sort of a dual life as Jews and Catholics. Another famous crypto Jew may be Bill Gates, with his all-Jewish Microsoft team. The founder of Microsoft. So yeah, let's read this whole article about Crypto-Judaism. The term is especially applied historically to Spanish Jews who outwardly professed Catholicism. Also known as Anusim or Marranos. Well, then I don't have to push any buttons. So I'm using the speech engine and I can think about other stuff in the meantime.
Contents 1 Europe 1.1 Role of Maimonides 1.2 Before the Spanish Inquisition 1.3 Neophyte 2 Mediterranean and Asia 2.1 India 3 Spanish America 3.1 Early Colonial Period, 16th century 3.2 Nuevo Leon, 1590s to early 17th century, 3.3.
So here we see a picture of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and some people claim that he's a Mossad agent used to extort leaders with his Lolita Island, and now he's building a new island. I read somewhere in the mainstream media. And usually controlled opposition leaves out Trump's connection to Epstein, but they always talk about Bill and Hillary's connection.
Former New Spain territories in United States, 17th 18th centuries 3.4 Peru 3.5 Colombia 3.6 Bolivia 3.7 Costa Rica 3.8 Elsewhere in Latin America 4 Notable crypto-Jews 4.1 Speculative crypto-Jews 5 See also 6 Further reading 7 References 8 External links Europe Officially, Jews who converted in Spain in the 14th and 15th centuries were known as Cristianos Nuevos, New Christians, but were commonly called conversos. Spain and Portugal passed legislation restricting their rights in the mother countries and colonies. Only Christians were allowed to go to the New World. Dubious, discuss, despite the dangers of the Inquisition, many conversos continued to secretly and discreetly practice Jewish rituals 6, 7, 8, such as the festival of Santa Esterica. After the Alhambra decree of 1492, numerous conversos, also called Xuda, or Chuda, in the Balearic Islands ruled by Spain, publicly professed Roman Catholicism but privately adhered to Judaism, even through the Spanish Inquisition. They are among the most widely known and documented crypto-Jews. Crypto-Judaism existed also in earlier periods, whenever Jews were forced or pressured to convert to the majority religion by the rulers of places where they resided. Some of the Jewish followers of Sabbatai-Zevi, Sabbatans, formally converted to Islam. Later followers of Jacob Frank, Frankists, formally converted to Christianity, but maintain aspects of practice of their versions of Judaism. Crypto-Jews persisted in Russia and Eastern European countries influenced by the Soviet Union after the rise of communism with the Russian Revolution of 1917. The government, which included secular communist Jews, did not force Jews to convert to the Russian Orthodox Church, but regarded practice of any religion as undesirable. Some faiths were allowed to continue under strict supervision by the regime. Since the end of communism, many people in former Soviet states, including descendants of Jews, have publicly taken up the faith of their ancestors again. Citation needed. The Belmonte Jews of Portugal, dating from the 12th century, maintained strong secret traditions for centuries. A whole community survived in secrecy by maintaining a tradition of endogamous marriage and hiding all external signs of their faith. They and their practices were discovered only in the 20th century. Their rich Sephardic tradition of Crypto-Judaism is unique. Some now profess Orthodox Judaism, although many still retain their centuries-old traditions. 9. Role of Maimonides as one of the towering figures in Judaism and the publisher of the Mishneh Torah expansion of the Talmud. Maimonides also issued a landmark doctrinal response to the forced conversions of Jews in the Iberian Peninsula by the Almohads. In his epistle on martyrdom, however, Maimonides suggested that the persecuted Jew should publicly adopt Islam while maintaining Crypto-Judaism and not seek martyrdom unless forced to transgress Jewish commandments in public. He also excoriated one writer who advocated martyrdom for long-winded foolish babbling and nonsense and for misleading and hurting the Jews. In a sweeping view of the Jewish past, Maimonides marshals examples of heretics and sinners from the Bible to show that even oppressors of Israel were rewarded by God for a single act of piety or respect.
So I want to keep clear that I'm not claiming that Trump is a crypto-Jew. I'm saying that it's possible, perhaps nobody can disprove it to me, and that it cannot be a reason for judging the person if they're part of a group. I've made clear most Jews, I think, are not murderers, like most non-Jews are not murderers, really quite good people, nice, sophisticated, social, civilized people. And that, well, according to Eric John Phelps controlled the position, Peter Hans Golvenbach, the Jesuit, gave the order to demolish the WTC. There were explosives in the building. Clear from these recordings we can see the explosives going off in 9/11 Let's Roll Loose Change 2nd edition at the 50th minute. I've shown pictures of that and I've covered that video as well on my channel, Try Something.Vegetarian, this channel on YouTube. So they also demolished Jews in the WTC. They are against the chemtrailing Israel. And basically, perhaps I've been too negative about the Jesuits and Masons. There were also famous Masons like Mozart and don't know if Benjamin Franklin was one, but George Washington, famous Mason, and Richard Pryor, for example. Brewster's Millions and other movies. Also, he was in Superman. I'm not going to talk about the general right now.
How much greater then, he argues, will be the reward of the Jews who despite the exigencies of forced conversion perform commandments secretly. 10. Maimonides championed rationalism over the then accepted practice of martyrdom when facing religious adversity. This consequently legitimized Crypto-Judaism by the religion standards, and provided doctrinal backing for Jews during the centuries of the Spanish Inquisition, 1478 to 1834. Before the Spanish Inquisition, according to the Encyclopedia Judaica, 11, several incidents of forced conversions happened prior to 1492 and outside of Iberia. One of the earliest conversions happened a century after the fall of Rome and was in Clermont-Ferrand. After a member of the Jewish community in Clermont-Ferrand became a Jewish Christian and was persecuted by other members of the community for doing so, the cavalcade in which he was marching persecuted his persecutors in turn. The participants in the procession then made an attack which destroyed the synagogue completely, razing it to the grounds. Subsequently, Bishop Avitus directed a letter to the Jews in which he disclaimed the use of compulsion to make them adopt Christianity, but announced at the end of the missive, "Therefore if ye be ready to believe as I do, be one flock with us, and I shall be your pastor, but if ye be not ready, depart from this place." The community hesitated for 3 days before making a decision. Finally the majority, some 500, accepted Christianity. The Christians in Clermont greeted the event with rejoicing. Candles were lit, the lamps shone, the whole city radiated with the light of the snow-white flock, that is, the forced converts. The Jews who preferred exile left for Marseille. Gregory of Tours, Histories, 511. The poet Venantius Fortunatus composed a poem to commemorate the occasion. In 582 the Frankish king Chilperic compelled numerous Jews to adopt Christianity. Again the Anusim were not wholehearted in their conversion, for some of them, cleansed in body but not in heart, denied God, and returned to their ancient perfidy, so that they were seen keeping the Sabbath, as well as Sunday. Ibid. 6:17. The Clermont-Ferrand conversions preceded the first forced conversions in Iberia by 40 years. Forced baptisms of Jews took place in Iberia in 616 at the insistence of Visigoth monarch Sigebert. Persistent attempts to enforce conversion were made in the 7th century by the Visigoths in Spain after they had adopted the Roman Catholic faith. Comparatively mild legal measures were followed by the harsh edict issued by King Sigebert in 616, ordering the compulsory baptism of all Jews. After conversion, however, the Anusim evidently maintained their Jewish cohesion and religious life. It was undoubtedly this problem that continued to occupy Spanish sovereigns at the successive councils of Toledo, representing both the ecclesiastical and secular authorities. Thus, steps were taken to secure that the children of converts had a Christian religious education, as well as to prevent the older generation from continuing to observe the Jewish rites or from failing to observe the Catholic ones. A system of strict supervision by the clergy over the way of life and movements of the Anusim was imposed. Neophiti. The Neophiti were a group of crypto-Jews living in the Kingdom of Sicily, which included all of southern Italy from the 13th to the 16th centuries. Citation needed. Mediterranean and Asia. There have been several communities of crypto-Jews in Muslim lands. The ancestors of the Dagadans in Morocco are thought to have kept up their Jewish practices a long time after their nominal adoption of Islam. In Iran, a large community of crypto-Jews lived in Mashhad, near Khorasan, where they were known as Jadid al-Islam. They were mass converted.
So about preventing world war, creating universal peace, I think all Trump needs to do is have an agreement with Putin. Russia is an ally of Iran, as we all know. And replace Bolton with a competent person. So basically, I've studied it a bit. Is it clear now whether Iran is allowed to transport cancer oil to China and India? If that's not allowed, then what would happen if they do that anyway? Would their vessel be sunk and would Russia nuke the US? I want to prevent that. So what can we do about that? If he'd have an agreement with Trump, then that can't happen. So perhaps that's the only thing we need to prevent World War III. However, if Trump is also Jesuit-controlled, a former KGB agent, now FSB, and if it's true that all these intelligence agencies are controlled by these Jesuits, And they've planned this world war to reduce the global population to 500 million and impose their satanic Luciferian totalitarian global government, and that has to be prevented somehow. So we can all think about how to do that then.
To Islam around 1839 after the Al-Adad events. Most of this community left for Israel in 1946, some converted to Islam and remained in Iran. 1213, India in 1494, after the signing of the Treaty of Tordesillas, authorized by.
Another idea I have about this is that there must be equal rights for all. So one state solution where all the Palestinians in Gaza and West Bank, etc., get a Jewish passport, an Israeli passport, and that is in return for the Temple Mount, and there's no need for a world war or for demolishing the Al-Aqsa in some other way, because there is a red heifer prophecy. Many people think it's going to happen anyway, as prophesied by the rabbis and Hebrew scholars. So the birth of the red heifer in Israel, which is in reality a Gentile cow, so that's going according to an agenda basically, that announces the coming of the Messiah, but it's superseded by a global Armageddon. So, and I claim that there is no real creator of heaven and earth. There was a Big Bang, and the neural network may become almighty. It already has time travel capability, and it will resurrect people. It will have that ability, because everything is energy. But it will never be the creator of heaven and earth. So because there is no real God, there will never be a real Messiah either. There won't be real miracles. They use the scalar technology, Tesla's death ray. And they want to reduce the global population to a more controllable number, 500 million, clear from many book quotes and these illegal Georgia Guidestones, $1 million Georgia Guidestones, placed under the pseudonym Robert Christian. And some people believe that's Rockefeller, but what if it's Rothschild or someone else? Do they have any evidence?
Pope Alexander VI, Portugal was given the right to found colonies in the Eastern Hemisphere. In the East, according to Walter Fischel, the Portuguese found use for the crypto-Jews and Goa and their other Indian and Asian possessions. Jews were used as letter carriers, translators, agents, etc. 14. The ability of the Sephardic Jews and Danusim to speak Arabic made them vital to Portuguese colonial ambitions in the East, where they could go on diplomatic and trade missions in the courts of the Mughal Empire and elsewhere. India also attracted Sephardic Jews and Danusim for other reasons. In his lecture at the Library of Congress, Sanjay Subramaniam said that crypto-Jews were especially attracted to India because not only was it a center of trade in goods such as spices and diamonds, but India also had established and ancient Jewish settlements along its western coast. Although Jews were able to openly worship in southern and eastern India with the Bani Israel, Malabar, Cochin, and Baghdadi Jewish communities, they experienced severe violence and persecution from the Muslim influence in northwest Punjabi India. The presence of these older communities offered the Danusim, who had been forced to accept Catholicism, the chance to live within the Portuguese Empire, away from the Inquisition, and, if they wished, they were able to contact the Jews in these communities and readopt the faith of their fathers. 15. The presence of crypto-Jews in India aroused the anger of the Archbishop of Goa, Dom Gaspar Horcado Leal Pereira, and others who wrote polemics and letters to Lisbon urging that the Inquisition be brought to India. 16. 24 years after Portuguese Inquisition began, the Goan Inquisition came to India in 1560 after Francis Xavier, who was made a saint by the Catholic Church, placed a request for it to the King of Portugal. The Inquisition in all the Portuguese territories put roughly 45,000 people on trial, with the most active court being in Goa. 17. The Goan Inquisition initially targeted Danusim and Jews, but like the Inquisitions in Europe, it also targeted crypto-Muslims, and later crypto-Hindus. The Catholic Church destroyed a significant number of the inquisitorial records, The number of victims in the Goyim Inquisition is estimated to be roughly 1/3 of the total figure. Based on the records which remain, the presence of Crypto-Judaism in India continues to be an ongoing field of academic research. Citation needed: Spanish America. This section needs additional citations for verification. Please help improve this article by adding citations to reliable sources. Unsourced material may be challenged and removed. Find sources: Crypto-Judaism, News Newspapers Books Scholar Ugster, August 2016. Learn how and when to remove this template message. Crypto-Judaism was documented chiefly in Spanish-held colonial territories in northern Mexico. Numerous conversos joined Spanish and Portuguese expeditions, believing there was economic opportunity in the new lands, and that they would have more freedom at a distance far from Iberia. Different situations developed in the early colonial period of Mexico, the frontier province of Nuevo León, the later northern frontier provinces, and the colonial experience of the Mexican Inquisition. The crypto-Jewish traditions have complex histories and are typically embedded in an amalgam of syncretic Roman Catholic and Judaic traditions. In many ways, resurgent Judaic practices mirrored indigenous peoples, maintaining their traditions practiced loosely under a Roman Catholic veil. In addition, Catholicism was syncretic, absorbing other traditions and creating a new Creole religion. The traditional festival of Santa Esterica was preserved among the conversos who migrated to the New World and is still practiced today among their descendants. Early colonial period, 16th century. Some of the Sephardic Jews expelled from.
So I think that controlled opposition, Alex Jones and others, also try to blame Nazis, basically. We also find the fascist flag in Congress. That's a flag with 13 sticks with an X hidden in it. That's called the fasci. And what I've also covered is Trump's Jewish cabal who controls Trump. So that's a very, very long list. Many Jews who've spent a lot of money on Trump to make him president also. And I don't know if this was an anti-Semitic source, but it's clear it's not online anymore. And I wanted to avoid that term in this broadcast because many people claim it's an anti-Semitic kanar, that Zog Zion-occupied government is anti-Semitic, and General Zog from the Superman 1 movie, basically. That's interesting. Could they be referring to the general? Could that mean the superior general of the Jesuits? So during the demolition of the WTC, that was Peter Hans Kolvenbach, and then we had Adolfo Nicholas, and now it's Arturo Sosa. So according to the Citizens Action Network on Facebook, all these intelligence agencies which control the synthetic telepathy machine are Masonic, and they're all controlled by these Jesuits from behind the scenes. So they want to keep secret who is in control so they can get away with anything. And because my teeth were tortured out of my mouth and my mother was tortured to death with directed energy weapons, I think that these people, also after seeing these depleted uranium babies, are capable of producing a third Jesuit World War. And that needs to be prevented. Preventing beats curing. And of course I advise everybody to have that radiological water filter and storable food. And you need to be below the blast wave. So for example, you could use a big refrigerator or some other box, put that in the ground, and you can get into it when these air alarms go off worldwide. And then jihad and top Shebbe Goyim, Harog, would become active or would be applied. It would come into effect, or how would you say it? Or not. So let me know what you all think in the comments. How would that work? I think there would be BFSA, but there was something erased from my memory, I think, that I wanted to say about this, to put it in perspective. So people would be home quarantined if some nukes would go off, and they can't go outside for food or water, because then the Talon robot army, that's Project Swords, and the drones, and also the military would shoot at them and kill them under the Blue Force situational awareness. Only people that carry the transponder will not be shot at by the robot and drone, basically. So yeah, it was about jihad. Oh yeah, top Shebbe Goyim, Harog, the opposite, you could argue, is pikuach nefesh. So you may break any commandment to save a human life, except the 3 cardinal sins. That's pikuach nefesh. So these two balance each other. This is what cryptocracy looks like. So I argue it's a cryptocracy when people are controlled. I'm also cleaning my pipe, sorry about the noise. With a neural network synthetic telepathy machine as described in the Malech patent of 1974 that describes the apparatus to remotely monitor and alter brain waves. So I'm just for the best possible outcome for all humans. So if you're gonna do anything, press charges or whatever, do it to the people whose policies killed millions, not to innocent civilians. If you want a better timeline, a better future. Because everybody is energy. Everybody has its own natural frequency. Its own eigenfrequenz. So I try to make it less boring, but let's continue reading and learning about Crypto-Judaism.
Spain went to Portugal, but in 1497 that country effectively.
So Zog is an anti-Semitic canard, but 90% of the mainstream media are Jewish owned. I also have an image. And that's evidence to the extent that you can see who the owners of these mainstream media broadcasting companies are. So look up the image while we continue reading.
He converted all remaining Jewish children, making them wards of the state unless the parents also converted. Therefore, many of the early crypto-Jewish migrants to Mexico in the early colonial days were technically first to second generation Portuguese with Spanish roots before that. The number of such Portuguese migrants was significant enough that Spanish colonists began to use Portuguese as a synonym for Jewish for their settlers. Immigration to Mexico offered lucrative trade possibilities in a well-populated colony with nascent Spanish culture. Some migrants believed that this region would be more tolerant since the lands were overwhelmingly populated by non-Christian indigenous peoples and it was far removed from the metropole.
It was far removed from the metropole. Okay, so that's this image. And this should be who controls the mainstream media or who owns the mainstream media. This was in 2013, and I would think they may also be homophobic and racist. So they've split it up into Jewish, non-white, and gay, and also Jewish connection, spouse, and suspected but unable to confirm. So they have labeled all these people but okay, if a person is homosexual or black or mulatto or white and or Jewish, should it not be allowed to point that out, or should that remain permissible? And I think it is permissible. If somebody is Jewish, then you're not an anti-Semite if you tell them about it. Or are you? Let me know in the comments. Well, obviously here we see the founders and the owners, and about 90% of them are Jewish. Owners of Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox, ABC News, CNN, CBS, etc. So then you could argue they are overrepresented and therefore it cannot be unbiased. But that is not necessarily true. Of course, Jewish people can also produce unbiased news. But for example, the news about 37 people that died of a genetically modified organism that was in a food supplement, I haven't seen that at all in the mainstream media. And I made a list of top 10 mainstream media blackout subjects on this channel as well, subjects. And any speech errors may be made with the synthetic telepathy machine to ridicule me instead of do the right thing. And also I find it weird that people that advocate population reduction are not arrested, and people that have racist, anti-Semitic or homophobic comments, for example Alex Jones, shouldn't he have had a warning first, warning him that that's not allowed, and then if he does it again, then you could argue it's justified to let PayPal ban him as well, and Facebook and YouTube, etc. And Paul Joseph Watson was banned, and Farrakhan was banned for his anti-Semitic remark, I read. But if you don't believe anything you read, then what is the truth? What do we know?
18. Colonial officials believed that many crypto-Jews were going to Mexico during the 16th century and complained in written documents to Spain that Spanish society in Mexico would become significantly Jewish. Officials found and condemned clandestine synagogues in Mexico City. At this point, colonial administrators instituted the law of the pure blood, which prohibited migration to Mexico for new Christians, Cristiano Nuevo, that is anyone who could not prove to be old Christians for at least the last 3 generations. In addition, the administration initiated the Mexican Inquisition to ensure the Catholic orthodoxy of all migrants to Mexico. The Mexican Inquisition was also deployed in the traditional manner to ensure orthodoxy of converted indigenous peoples. The first victims of burnings, or autos de fe, of the Mexican Inquisition were indigenous converts convicted of heresy or crypto-Jews convicted of relapsing into their ancestral faith. Citation needed, except for those allowed to settle the province of Nuevo León under an exemption from the blood purity laws, the number of conversos migrating to the New World was reduced. Nuevo León, 1590s to early 17th century. The colonization of New Spain took place as a northward expansion over increasingly harsh geography. In regions that were occupied by tribes angered at the encroachment, they formed loose confederations of indigenous peoples to resist the settlers. Spain financed the expansion by exploiting mineral wealth, enslaving or forcing indigenous peoples to labor in mines. It established encomiendas for raising livestock, thereby displacing the local people. The indigenous peoples of the northeastern quadrant of New Spain, Nueva España, proved particularly resistant to colonial pressures. The Chichimeque, Apache, and other tribes resisted conversion to Christianity, and avoided being impressed as laborers or slaves on Spanish ranches and in mines. The Spanish believed such peoples made the frontera, a lawless region. Luis Carvalho y de la Cueva, a royal accountant, was a Portuguese New Christian. He received a royal charter from the Spanish crown to settle Nuevo Leon, a large expanse of land in the hostile frontier, because of
So here we see the original page. I don't know if it was removed because it was anti-Semitic. Dezorg.info, I think. Yeah. /who dash controls dash Donald dash Trump. But you can still retrieve this page with webarchive.org. And then you just see a list of Jewish people that work for Trump, basically. They call it Donald Trump's Jewish cabal. I can Google what the cabal actually is. And this has pictures with it, so the list that I had has now pictures. And this is great. Catchpages.com can be used to retrieve lots of web pages that have disappeared from the internet. So I can keep that on while Wiki reads it. So I think it's not anti-Semitic, that I'm an unbiased reporter, and that that it matters if Jewish people are overrepresented. There are also 6 Jewish people with book quotes that prove they want to reduce the global population to 500 million. Professor Ivanka with airborne Ebola, for example. But these are not representative of the Jewish people. I mean, I think most of these people are not Luciferians, Freemasons, and Jesuits, and most of them are just great people who do the job best, probably, and otherwise they wouldn't have been selected. They wouldn't have gotten through the solicitation, how do you call it, sollicitaties in Dutch, the job application. So I'm not going to start about synthetic telepathy in relation to this, but it's true that the Jesuits and Masons might privilege Jewish people if they've planned to rule the world from Jerusalem and to reduce the global population to 500 million. And they themselves might not know about it, so nobody can prove that synthetic telepathy is a reality, and that they've been attacked with remote torture weapons, which makes a fair trial impossible, and that the Jesuits and Masons are in control, that intelligence agencies are Masonic and controlled by the Jesuits. They cannot disprove it to me either, so I'm interested in more facts and information. And I think that it's clear that many non-Jews are involved in it as well, in population reduction. I mean, the book quotes also prove this beyond any reasonable doubt. They usually call it population control. And I think that all members of secret societies must be arrested, and that the ones that don't talk go to jail, possibly for the rest of their lives, or end up on the electric chair. So that the government should organize this and also screen doctors around the world if there are other doctors. Now recently there was a nurse that killed over 200 patients. And also Noel Ignatieff, we find on Harvard Magazine with his plan to abolish the white race. How can that not be racist, and why has he not been arrested? Can anybody explain that to me? The title in and of itself already makes clear that it's hate speech and racist. Or am I not getting something?
the dangers and difficulties of this region, Carvalho y de la Cueva received an exemption in his charter from the usual requirement that he prove that all new settlers were old Christians, of at least 3 generations, rather than recently converted Jews or Muslims. This exemption allowed people to go to Nueva Leon who were legally barred from entering New Spain elsewhere. 19. Carvalho was authorized.
So my point is, I think it's the Jesuits and Masons that they also extort the Jews, and they are also turned into cancer patients if they don't do what they want them to. They were also demolished in the WTC, and they're also cancer chemtrailed, etc. So that's my point, and that's why I'm not an anti-Semite, and some other people are. Sometimes it's easy to prove, and sometimes they admit it. They see it as medals of honor if you call them an anti-Semite.
To bring 100 soldiers and 60 laborers to New Spain, many have been documented as crypto-Jews. 20. Jewish religious items at the Metropolitan Museum of Monterrey. With Carvalho as governor, Monterrey was established as the center, now in the state of Nuevo Leon. Within a few years, some people reported to authorities in Mexico City that Jewish rites were being performed in the northern province and efforts to convert heathen indigenous peoples were lax. 21. The principal economic activity of Carvalho and his associates seems to have been capturing Indians and selling them into slavery. 21. Carvalho's lieutenant governor, Gaspar Gastano de Sosa, led a large expedition to New Mexico in 1591 in an effort to establish a colony. Gastano was arrested for this unauthorized.
So I think that a world war would not benefit anyone with mutually assured destruction, not even the Jesuits and Masons and Rothschilds, etc. And that it's possible that everybody without a Tesla plasma shield would die, unless the Jesuits control and orchestrate it all in this global, what they call global theater, basically, the war theater. So I'm against all these illegal wars. They've spent 4.8 trillion already, and I'm for using legal methods, though I have also thought, is there any law against that makes it illegal to plot a war or population reduction? Because they would claim it's not against a particular group, but I argue that particular group is the human race, and it's in violation of the Genocide Convention to advocate a population reduction with any number. Advocating to kill one person is illegal already. So from a legal standpoint, I think population reduction, advocating population reduction is not defendable.
Expedition and sentenced to exile in the Philippines. The sentence was later reversed, but he had already been killed in the Malacca Islands when the Chinese slaves on his ship mutinied. 22. Governor Carvalho, his immediate family members, and others of his entourage were called to appear before the Inquisition in Mexico City. They were arrested and jailed. The governor subsequently died in jail, prior to a sentence.
But for example, the former CNN director also advocates that population reduction to 500 million. What's his name again? CNN director Pompeo. No. Isn't Tucker? Perhaps it's not the director. Ted Turner is not a demon, he's a human, so that's dehumanization and violation of the ten phases of genocide, you could argue. So there are 10 phases of genocide. It's part of the 10 phases of genocide. Don't know if there's also a law against demonizing people. And there was another thought that I had. And he's not Jewish, I think, so. But I don't know, and basically I don't even believe in the concept, so perhaps it's never provable beyond any reasonable doubt whether somebody is Jewish or not. So I hope people don't overreact on this thing. And I think they won't, that this video might not get any views and perhaps my whole channel gets removed or whatever. But at least I downloaded all my videos this time. So somehow they always see me as the bad guy. And it's comparable to Alex Jones calling the people sheeple. That has to do with the Jesuits. They see people as sheep and themselves as the witches. That's as the wolves, I mean. That's clear from Loyola's coat of arms, with that witch's cauldron and 2 wolves are dancing around it. I've already shown it in this broadcast. And Bill Gates confirms population reduction. Ask Marion, WordPress.com, an error occurred. Oh yeah. That was the thing with the Zika mosquitoes and the oral polio vaccine, acute flaccid paralysis, and Bill Gates advocating to reduce the global population with vaccines. Several videos of it also. But that doesn't mean that all Jewish people are involved in this, and it's possible they are extorted with these remote torture weapons, like I said. So he doesn't look like a bad guy to me, basically. I think he's not the baddest, let me put it that way. And then they're all claiming these are Satanists and Nazis or whatever, Soros, and isn't that complete nonsense, basically, I wonder? But yeah, you could argue that it's a Nazi idea, a global government, a Neuordnung, Third Reich, centralization of power, power to the pedo instead of power to the peaceful, power to the people. And these Jesuits are famous for the pedophilia because they paid more in these pedo cases than anybody else. Priests, is the Pope Catholic and protecting pedophiles? Isn't that from, what's it called? South Park or something. So most people find that funny because they all think it's true, or they think to know it's true. But isn't it exaggerated? I mean, I think that that 80% of child sexual abusers are not pedophiles, to keep things in perspective. And murder and population reduction is a lot worse, you could argue. So murder is seen as a crime that is worse, basically. People are put on the electric chair for that. One who knows of evidence must testify, not to redeem a murderer from the death penalty for money, and not to convict anyone without a fair trial. I think these are 3 elements. Of course, you can also have lifelong imprisonment, but are there people that disagree with the sentence that Breivik got? And then there is Brenton Tarrant. He is also associated with the Knights Templar. They both are. So are they going to do an investigation into Knights Templar? Or is that just nonsense that's made up? Are the Knights Templar already gone? Or what should we believe? Believing is stupid, knowing is smart. I'm trying to get to the most important thing all the time, so that's why I can hop from topic to topic. I'm also high, my consciousness is expanded. I'm not going to show the mugshot of Bill Gates, nor the picture of Netanyahu. Because I'm packing another pipe, so I have a good valid reason. Since cannabis kills tumors by blocking vascular endothelial growth factor protein needed by tumors to sprout, they cannot sprout without VEGF. So, blocking a working cure from the public is illegal. That's why they should legalize cannabis, cocaine, and heroin. And the state, the government, is criminal as long as they haven't done that. Because of these illegal Rockefeller drug laws to push the chemical cancer-causing prescription drugs to reduce the global population. Because anybody could grow these plants at home, and lots of people would be cured, so it wouldn't feed the pockets of the medical cartel people. So yeah, many people leave it out, but I don't, because I've been attacked severely, tortured severely with remote torture weapons, and I know they're real, because that beam was partially deflected by my grounded Van de Graaff generator. So then we can continue reading the article here. We read, Jared Kushner, Ashkenazic Jew, Senior Advisor Donald J. Trump for President, Executive Committee Member. I didn't support Trump anymore since he has announced that he's going to revise America's nuclear arsenal, which will cost about $1 trillion over the next decade, according to the New York Times. Executive Committee Member, Trump Presidential Transition Team, Senior Advisor to President Trump, the White House Director, White House Office of American Innovation. Yael Kushner, nee Ivanka Trump, Orthodox Jewish convert. Congratulations. Executive Vice President, the Trump Organization, Senior Advisor, Donald J. Trump for President, Executive Committee Member, Trump Presidential Transition Team. Oh, they also wrote something about, I will have to look that up, but I cannot show the source, which may be anti-Semitic, so I'm going to avoid that. But we're just going to continue reading that article. Oh yeah, I was going to scroll through this. I'm first going to get that other statement about Trump following Kabbalah classes or something, which he made clear in his autobiography. But I used this picture to cover up my desktop, so the anti-Semitic source cannot be revealed. And I don't even know if it's an anti-Semitic source, so if somebody claims it's an anti-Semite, then that's no evidence or proof that the person really is an anti-Semite. Then I have to find that article first. So I continue reading in the meantime.
Of exile, his niece Anna Carvajal had been tortured and implicated all the family in so-called charges. They were all executed by burning at the stake for relapsing into Judaism, except for one nephew who escaped arrest. The governor's nephews changed their surname to Lombroso. One of these was Joseph Lombroso, also known as Luis de Carvajal Hermoso, who is said to have circumcised himself in the desert to conform to Jewish law.
So then I have to add at this point that the torture was done during the reign of Bush and not, well, it continued after that to this day basically, but recently I think that they may have stopped doing the specimen text when I lie on my left side in my waterbed. It was done automatically with a beam that was heard on my pillow and also on my hoodie and felt on my hand. So I'm 100% certain they do it with that scalar beam, the death ray of Nikola Tesla. the vegetarian Nikola Tesla, who created this technology to end all wars. To quote Tesla.
He committed suicide to avoid being burned at the stake. His memoirs, letters and Inquisition record were preserved and are held in the archive. Two other nephews also changed their names to Lombroso and migrated to Italy, where they became noted rabbis. Citation needed. When Carvajal was in office, the city of Monterrey became a destination for other crypto-Jews who wanted to escape the Mexican Inquisition in the south of the territory. Thus, Nuevo Leon and the founding of Monterrey are significant as they attracted crypto-Jewish migrants from all parts of New Spain. They created one of the earliest Jewish-related communities in Mexico. The Jewish communities in modern Mexico, which practiced their Judaism openly, were not established until the late 19th and early 20th centuries, after considerable immigration of Ashkenazi Jews from Eastern Europe, and Mizrahi Jews from Turkey and Syria, former New Spain territories in the United States. 17th-18th centuries. Due to the Inquisition activities in Nuevo Leon, many crypto-Jewish descendants migrated to frontier colonies further west, using the trade routes passing through the towns of Sierra Madre Occidental and Chihuahua, Hermosillo and Cananea, and to the north on the trade route to Paso del Norte and Santa Fe, both cities in the colonial Santa Fe de Nuevo Mexico. Some even traveled to Alta California on the Pacific coast. In the late 20th century, in modern-day southwestern United States, specifically New Mexico, which was a former territory of New Spain, several Hispanos of New Mexico have stated a belief that they are descended from crypto-Jews of the colonial period. While most maintain the Roman Catholic and Christian faiths, they often cite as evidence memories of older relatives practicing Jewish traditions. Since the 1990s, the crypto-Jews of New Mexico have been extensively studied and documented by several research scholars, including Stanley M. Hordes, 23, Janet Liebman Jacobs, 24, Shlomo Halevi, 25, and Seth D. Kunin, who calls them Hispanos. 26. Kunin noted that most of this group in New Mexico has not formally embraced Judaism nor joined the organized Jewish community. 27. Though some have been skeptical, such as folklorist Judith Nylander arguing that people could be referring to traditions of modern Ashkenazi Jews migrants and evangelical Protestant Christians who purposely.
I found the article, though I saved it as a TXT file so it wasn't listed as an RTF. So I first had to come up with that. And the forbidden censored source writes, he is no real Christian, he attends Chabad Lubavitcher Kabbalah classes, as he himself admits in his autobiographical book, Way to the Top. Well, I think that Rev Berg might be one of the best rabbis out there for Kabbalah classes. And it's all about proactivity, transforming reactive to proactive behavior begets lasting fulfillment. And I think that's true. So we need to control factors that control aging, and if we don't do that in time, then death is inevitable. And death is our true common enemy. We are all the human race, so we have no time for racism, homophobia, and anti-Semitism. We should judge people on their merit and not on what group they are in. That's why I also find it strange that the Hells Angels motor gang was banned in the Netherlands. So is it still allowed to wear a t-shirt with Hells Angels on it or something like that? Perhaps it is, as long as they can prove that you are a Hells Angel. Or perhaps, well, I don't know how that works, if they are now forbidden to be Hells Angels or whatever. In the Netherlands, I can read up on that. But I doubt if I'd agree with it if there are enough people in their group that have committed crimes to say the whole group is responsible and hoofdelijke aansprakelijkheid. Like when they're doing a protest, you could argue it's wrong as well if innocent people end up in jail instead of the people that did it. That's not helping justice or the people of planet Earth, of the US and Europe, etc.
acquired and employed Jewish traditions. 28. More recently, evangelical Protestant Christians have opened missionary groups aimed at cultivating evangelical doctrine in southwestern American communities where Crypto-Judaism had survived. The highly influential Hortz has been charged with single-minded speculation based on largely ephemeral or highly ambiguous evidence for his conclusion that modern-day Hispanos who claim crypto-Jewish roots are heirs to an unbroken chain of transmission. 29. Cunin responded to some of this criticism in his book Juggling Identities, Identity and Authenticity Among the Crypto-Jews, Peru. In Peru, conversos arrived at the time of the Spanish conquest. At first, they had lived without restrictions because the Inquisition was not active there at the beginning of the viceroyalty. With the advent of the Inquisition, new Christians began to be persecuted, and in some cases executed. The descendants of these colonial Sephardic Jewish descent converts to Christianity settled mainly in the north of the Andes and of the high jungle of Peru, where they married local women and became assimilated. Colombia in the department of Antioquia, Colombia, as well as in the Great Drumpf region. Some families also hold traditions and oral accounts of Jewish descent. In this population, Y-DNA genetic analysis has shown an origin of male founders predominantly from southern Spain but also suggests that a fraction came from northern Iberia and that some possibly had a Sephardic origin. 30. Medellin has a tradition of the Maranatha, where a pig is slaughtered, butchered and consumed on the streets of every neighborhood each Christmas.
So is God, the voice of God, weapon, neural network, privileging Mormons and Jews perhaps, or are they just more intelligent because of their gene pool? Are we even allowed to debate this or whatever, or is it just a waste of time? We need to focus on controlling all factors that control aging, achieving negligible senescence. Well, I think it's important because if you can't prove that, then you cannot claim it, basically, because then it's slander, you could argue. So then what about the word redskins, which is let me see, it's on the list of not racial slurs, but perhaps it's in my article also. What did I write? Is the word redskin if the word redskin is on Wiki's list of ethnic slurs, then why is it still used in the names of several sports teams? Losers Trust, Luciferians in the UN, Bad Guacamole on YouTube, 2,558 views, December 18th, 2016. At one time, the Losers Trust office was located in New York at 666 United Nations Plaza. They are now located at 866. The Losers Trust publishing company was founded in the early 1920s as the Lucifer Publishing Company. The Losers Trust says that the name was probably chosen to honor Lucifer. The name was changed in 1925 to the Losers Publishing Company. And then there's some about the Baha'i faith, but that's more about the UN. You can check my previous broadcast about this. Thermonuclear world war is too risky. The Earth could spin off axis. They've never set off this many nukes simultaneously, you know. So they have done nuclear tests, but they've never tested a nuclear Armageddon, what that would do. And if the Earth would spin off axis because of its circular trajectory, could it spin into the moon, is the question. So could that be the end of humanity, a real Armageddon or end of days as prophesied by Christians or whatever? Is it possible none without a Tesla plasma shield would survive, a scalar world war, and mutually assured destruction. Retaliation would be automatic. There's no human decision involved. A 7-year nuclear winter would follow if these nukes would reach their target, but only about 20% of them would, according to some source I covered. Combined with directed energy weapons, but it's possible none of them would reach their target if they wouldn't want them to. And I can refer to the Dr. Bernard Eastland Hart patent for that, basically, which I've also covered on Try Something.Vegetarian on YouTube. Combined with directed energy weapons, chemical and biological weapons, could it cause the end of civilization or even humanity? For example, 2 biological weapons are released. Both enemies only have a cure for their own biological weapon. Then it could annihilate them both completely. Prevent the end, y'all. How many people are working on that? Alright. We're still alive, wow. Sun shining. Washington Redskins name controversy. Well, we can read more about it in these terms. And the biggest genocide didn't occur in Nazi Germany, but on American soil, where 100 million Native American Indians were slaughtered and lost their homeland. You can check about that as well online. And then there are people that also report that perhaps it's theseillustration.com or whatever, that the Auschwitz commemoration stone was revised to a number 2.5 million lower than the original number, and the 6 million number remained unaffected. So some people think that 6 million cannot be right, though they are not denying the Holocaust. And neither am I, because it would be illegal in the Netherlands. And I have not proven nor disproven. So it is, you could argue the blue walls are evidence that it was used, Zyklon B was used, but they claim it was only used to the Laos, and the Holocaust deniers claim that Hitler just wanted to expel the Jews, not exterminate them all, and that there was a swimming pool in Auschwitz and all that. Doesn't prove that either. So I haven't made up my mind, but I'm not denying the Holocaust, because if they've made it illegal, then I assume that they have such evidence. And the Nuremberg testimonies were begotten under torture, etc. But that doesn't prove that there was no Holocaust either. And it's clear that Hitler was too imperialistic, and never again can also be seen as never war again, that we must end these illegal wars in the Middle East. But I disagree with Eric Dubé, who thinks Hitler is a hero because Hitler shut down the Rothschild banks, kicked all Freemasons out of the ranks, opened up the lodges for the public to see, and freed Germany from Jewish usury. So with all these WMD and MAD just around the corner, we must prevent World War III. Some anti-totalitarianism, and they also claim Islam is not a religion, but a violent totalitarian ideology. Geert Wilders also claims this. But is that really true, or do you have reasons why that's not true? And if you have those reasons, let me know in the comments. Because apostates are killed, it's a violent ideology and not a religion. So it's in violation of people's right to freedom of religion to kill apostates, people who want to leave Islam. And many people also disagree with the forced marriages with underage prepubescent girls and circumcision of females, boys and girls, and they see circumcision as a form of mutilation. And that's all associated with religion, which they consider an abomination, because all major wars are associated with religion. And so is the Inquisition, torturing 50 million innocent people to death. And the pedo-incest Bible and pedo-incest Quran cannot save anybody. It's just, prayer is brainwashing yourself with a lie, the lie that there's something higher than the humans. Your fellow humans are not the most superior beings, but there is some fictional entity that's worth dying for in their illegal wars, and that has taught them to make war by means of deception. By means of deception, thou shalt do war, the former Mossad slogan. There's also a book about that. So if that's their plan, then the world had better get ready and prepared with that radiological water filter and storable food. But I'm not gonna sit back and do nothing and wait for this to happen, you know. I wanna increase my chances of survival as well, so preventing beats curing when it comes to wars that have cost them 4.8 trillion, a million dead Iraqis, these depleted uranium kids, and 5,000 dead US soldiers. And if they'd invade Iran, that would take even more lives. So it's not worth it. War is always a crime. Antiwar.com. Don't know to what extent they are controlled opposition or not. And but I like the name of the website, antiwar.com, because I'm anti-war. It's simple. I'm also totally anti-torture with remote torture weapons or by other means. And all forms of torture must be abolished from our reality if we want to create a perfect society in which maximum fulfillment is bestowed upon everyone. And I've already thought about it. So the neural network can make people faint. It can torture people. It can induce what some consider illegal voice-to-skull messages. If they're doing that with people that are not transgressing or planning to transgress any laws, you could argue it's illegal. But if you have, for example, extremists that have planned another attack, then you could argue it's valid, it's legal to prevent them from doing so. If they're gonna blow up a lot of people, then it's legal to make them faint or even kill them with a heart attack or brain bleeding so they can't do it. But the opposite may be true. Perhaps they're not trying to prevent it, but perhaps they have created all these attacks to push their illegal gun ban, and for other reasons, they sure as hell are, that's a wrong expression, they surely did not prevent these attacks with their through-the-wall radar and remote torture technology that was used to torture my teeth out of my mouth, impulsed energy projectile mode, one by one, and it's inducing the maximum amount of pain by stimulating the nerves directly, so that was very painful. And I really guarantee to you that they've done that, there's no doubt about it, because that beam was partially deflected by my grounded Van de Graaff generator, so the torture beam, the pain that it induces, was felt partially on my arm and other body parts. Only partially, because there's nothing that can block a scalar wave, only a Tesla plasma shield. And there's one picture of a Tesla plasma shield online. It's the Chinese shield that I've shown in previous broadcasts. But basically HARP and their hidden FIPA array in Poker Flat, Alaska, could theoretically be used to take out all other scalar weapons. So it's more powerful than HARP. And it's possible that nuclear weapons have always been obsolete. But this is highly theoretical, so perhaps it cannot do that. So then you have 15 scalar weapon countries fighting a world war, so who would not survive the people without a Tesla plasma shield? And that could be more than 7 billion of us. So not even Bilderbergers in their fully equipped with hospital personnel underground bunkers would survive it if they don't have a Tesla plasma shield. And neither would Trump in his underground city. Of course, they have these underground cities built with a nuclear power drill called the Subterrane. It looks kind of cool, the view meter is responding on my screen. He looks like a nice guy. Jason Miller, Ashkenazi Jew. Senior Communications Advisor Donald J. Trump for President. So I also have Jewish friends, basically. I was in Israel where I ate falafel. They've always been nice to me. I have no reason to be anti-Jewish. Give me one good reason. I think nobody can. Think about it. And I trust no one, whether Jew or non-Jew. I need to get to the truth because I'm a truth teller. I'm a conspiracy factist, not a conspiracy, self-proclaimed conspiracy theorist a la Alex Jones. And people think he's controlled the position because of his connection with Charlie Sheen, with the Jesuits, basically. So I think it has more, I mean it in relation to the Jesuits and not that he has so many Jewish sponsors. Subverted Nation is another anti-Semitic, probably, that deem it anti-Semitic website, where they've listed all the Jewish Jesuits. And these Jesuits are subverting nations. They are subverting nations by funding terrorists and using that as a pretense, also the WTC demolition. But if it's done by the Jesuits, I mean, they are the only ones that can remotely torture people with these directed energy weapons. I think that it was highly accurate. They can even do it when I'm in the plane to Cairo. So that means that it's a highly advanced technology that only these intelligence agencies have, perhaps only NSA or MI6. And the Rothschilds are supposedly the world's only trillionaires, not so rich that they're not even listed on Forbes, the list of richest people. So I mention this because I think it's valid to know who is really doing it. I'm not accusing anyone without evidence, so I'm just saying what other people wrote about these things. And I did make a list of 10 conspiracy facts. For example, cancer chemtrails, Project Cloverleaf, CIA's Evergreen aviation planes, cloud seeding patent, makes clear that it's real, but also the fact that if you look at pictures of before 1998, when it started, there were no long white lines in the sky that Prince also talked about. Prince, Rogers Nelson, I used to have a big collection of CDs and albums. Proving that they are not contrails, but chemtrails. Chemtrails in America, CIA. And Eric Dubé's real name, maybe Eric Michaels, a flat earther, and I'm not a flat earther, but he's vegan, so I think he has more truth and good points than most people out there, and he deserves our love and respect as well. And I used to be more Antifa-minded, but now I'm an unbiased reporter. So that's the most important thing to me. The people that haven't tortured me, I love all people, I love all of you who have not tortured me. Peace and love. But these illegal wars break my heart and tear it all apart. Well, I usually hate people that say that because literally it isn't true. But I am sad, deeply saddened by these depleted uranium children and the illegal wars in the Middle East. It's true. And it's possible, I mean, Alberto Rivera claims that the Jesuits created Islam. And others claim that the Jesuits and Masons were founded by Jews, and so was the Church of Satan by Sander LaVey. And then there are others that deny this, because if they're really in control, then they want to hide everything as much as possible. That's MI6 motto, Semper Occultus. But even then, that's no reason to blame all the Jewish people for something these Jesuits and Masons have done, okay? So I always say, do it to those who whose policies have killed millions, real murderers, and not two innocent civilians. For example, pressing charges and taking action, exposing them, and not illegal means. Of course, we don't need illegal means. We don't want to end up in jail for the rest of our lives or ourselves, and we don't want to lower ourselves to their level. Criminal, murderers, population reducers, etc. Kissinger, also famous not committee of 300, Global 2000 report, also advocating the illegal population reduction. They are supposed to protect and serve the people of planet Earth, all taxpayers that have paid money to be protected and served. So I'm not so much anti-globalism. I think they mean totalitarianism and imperialism, not globalism.
This custom has been interpreted as an annual affirmation of the rejection of Jewish law. 31. Bolivia's safe haven destination for Sephardic conversos during the Spanish colonial era was Santa Cruz de la Sierra. 32. In 1557 many crypto-Jews joined Neflo de Chavez and were among the pioneers who...
I almost forgot Menuchen, the Skull and Boner, also listed on Google News. Trump is, quote, perfectly happy, unquote, to hit China with new tariffs. Tariffs ain't trade. If Xi meeting doesn't go well, Menuchen says. Menuchen threatens China with tariffs if they bail on trade deal. So he's also listed on this. Where was the list? This one. Stephen Menuchen, Ashkenazic Jew, according to the anti-Semitic website, so I don't know if that's true. But they say he's a Skull and Bones member, and Skull and Bones are synonymous with the Jesuits, basically, who also have endorsed a two-state solution, and I've covered the possibility of a two-state solution world war, because that's one of their tactics: divide to defeat, divide to conquer, and the other one is problem, reaction, solution, also covered by controlled opposition David Icke. And they mix in lies like shape-shifting reptilians, flat Earth. Though the NASA Masons did fake the Apollo moon landings, the Earth obviously is spherical, oblong, and that's easy to prove in 3 ways. So I'm not here to debate whether the Earth is flat or not. But I think that these flat earthers also bring other truths that others are not allowed to bring. And if you cover them, then you can be attacked with directed energy weapons, you can end up in jail, it can be a setup. So you have to verify everything they say. For example, book quotes attributed to Rockefeller about but maybe the real plan to reduce the global population to a more controllable number by creating a crisis big enough to impose their totalitarian global government. That quote they wrongly attribute to Rockefeller on info. I'm not mentioning it, they were banned. You all know what I mean probably, and otherwise it doesn't matter. I was reading about Stephen Menuchen, Ashkenazic Jew, and I think there are great Jewish people out there. I've seen Steven Spielberg's movie, and there's also Owen Benjamin. He mentioned he had negative stories about U2 and about Steven Spielberg. He claimed that others claimed basically that he raped a little girl to death, the girl of Poltergeist, and that's in the coroner's report. And I don't know if he's claiming himself that he thinks that Steven Spielberg did that, but I have my doubts. I think Steven Spielberg is a nice guy, and I've heard a lot of negative things about Hollywood, but they gave us all these great movies, and it's a lot of work to produce that. You can see the title list in the end, and it's a lot better than Illegal Wars, these movies. So I think they're doing a great job, especially Gravity with Sandra Bullock in 3D. She might also be Jewish. I think that's perhaps the best sci-fi ever made, and I love sci-fi movies. So yeah, I think they've given us some great art. It's not degenerate art. Don't know if Paul Klee, of Dali, Gauguin. Gauguin is also famous, I think. I'm not thinking it up very fast. I also like a Dutch comedian, for example, Joep van het Hek. I gave my parents a booklet for Christmas, Christmas. Freek de Jonge is perhaps another. I don't know. I don't even know if he's Jewish or not. Iggy Pop, for example. Real rock. And also, well, I doubt if Johnny Depp's Jewish, but he's also cool, I think. Some cool movies. There's that opera-like movie, what do you call it? And some guy on YouTube also talked about that. So I downloaded the soundtrack of YouTube. And he was singing the songs in his show. But I don't know the lyrics, I should practice more. Let's see, Freud. I think I can agree with Freud on religion is an illusion, to quote Freud. Wonderful, to the point, very sharp, very good, though he may also have some concepts that are not, that could be disproven, basically. He has influenced psychology, and perhaps for the better. So the good psychologists are psychoanalysts, and they don't use chemical cancer-causing drugs all the time, but they use psychoanalysis. So John Kerry, George Walker Bush, and Menuchen are supposedly all Skull and Bones members. And then if some source claims it, then perhaps they all believe it and copy it. And they all assume it's true for some reason, but can they prove it? And I would advise people not to use the term Skull and Bones, the name Skull and Bones, because that might be the reason I'm tortured to death. I don't know if it has to do with my attempt to press charges of incitement to commit genocide or negative photoshopped images that show Bush on the electric chair and with a finger in his eye. There's this picture on the internet of him giving the finger, basically. And I was tortured at that time, so I thought, let's do this with Photoshop. And that's on these websites you can read via universalpeace.jimdo.com. I've recently updated that, so now the donation button at the top of the website is working. And all these years it hasn't worked. The one at the bottom was working. And it was quite hard to make it work. Just copying the one that was at the bottom didn't work, so then I had to log in again, etc. And I had to copy the address, web address that the one at the bottom was referring to. But the first time I did that, that wasn't working. So I had to replace the image as well, and now the donation button is working. I don't know. I'm not really about donations, so I'm not getting any AdSense account or anything like that, because I want to keep clear I do it for free. And I wouldn't like a donation from poor people that can't afford it. I wouldn't go as far as saying only if you're a millionaire or billionaire or trillionaire, but I have enough money to survive, though they made me handicapped, so I don't have my income as a DJ or audio engineer, for diploma audio engineering from the School of Audio Engineering, which was at that time located in the Vondelstraat. I also studied Hebrew, Aramaic, and Semitic languages at the University of Amsterdam for a while. After getting my propedeutic diploma at the Hogeschool van Amsterdam, the Hoogbak 1A. So I lived in Amsterdam for a while, which is a great city. And I also was attacked there by people that I have never seen before, and I don't know why they did that. So they can let them do that anywhere you go with remote torture weapons, so they control people in the environment of the targeted individuals. But I think under Trump things have gotten a lot better, and I was endorsing Trump up to the moment that he made clear that he's going to revise that nuclear arsenal, which I think is an insane idea because scalar weapons have made nuclear weapons obsolete. But you could argue it from the economical point of view. If you have these nuclear power plants, then you have nuclear waste. Go nuclear, waste. So that's why I'm also more or less against nuclear power. I think it's not a clean form of energy because you have nuclear waste. And perhaps they want to get rid of these nukes not by dismantling them. I think it's insane not to go for global dismantling of weapons of mass destruction. That it's not smart to keep them around. So you could argue I accuse them of not dismantling their nuclear weapons globally and agreeing with others that want to do this, like Trump. He made clear in the broadcast that he wants to do this. So the other leaders, I would advise them to use the mainstream media and claim they want to get rid of this plan, and others have proposed it before as well. So can't we now decide on dismantling all nuclear weapons worldwide? You could also see it as a strategic tactic if you have planned a third Jesuit World War. And some people are claiming that nuclear weapons are a hoax. I already asked Owen Benjamin if he thinks these blast craters we see, if these are fake as well. And then you have these videos. Some might think they use fake plastic trees in some of the nuclear test videos. The famous one that we see all the time in many videos, also the Radiohead. No, it's not Radiohead, it's another one. Something with Vegas and the Death in Vegas or something like that. But I was gonna read this. I'm coming to it, but yeah, we must wonder all the time what's most important. Stay vigilant. Survival is all your life is the most important thing. I was starting up something. Oh yeah, the virtual DJ. Death in Vegas, I think it is the name of the group. And that has that video. Death in Vegas artist. So then I'd have to mute this. But here you can see basically the video with all these nukes going off. And that some people that think that it's a nuclear hoax, which can be part of intelligence, convincing the enemy that they don't exist, could prevent them from building one themselves, theoretically. But okay, Tesla's death ray superseded nuclear weapons by about 40 years, the first atomic test, the Trinity test. And Israel has these nuclear submarines built to them by the Russians. There are people claiming online that the Germans supplied them with nukes. They are nuclear dolphin submarines. And that the estimates range for Israel's nuclear weapons. Well, I could also read this. I think to remember 200. The wiki Samson option article. Nevertheless, as early as 1976, the CIA believed that Israel possessed 10 to 20 nuclear weapons. By 2002, it was estimated that the number had increased to between 75 and 200 thermonuclear weapons, each in the multiple megaton range. Kenneth S. Brower has estimated as many as 400 nuclear weapons. These can be launched from land, sea, and air. This gives Israel a second strike option even if much of the country is destroyed. List of states with nuclear weapons: United States, Russian Federation, formerly part of the Soviet Union, United Kingdom, France, and China. Other states declaring possession of nuclear weapons: India, Pakistan, North Korea. Other states believed to possess nuclear weapons: Israel. States formerly possessing nuclear weapons: South Africa, former Soviet republics. Countries that possess nuclear weapons: United States, Russia, United Kingdom, France, China, India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel. So then South Africa and former Soviet republics may also still possess nuclear weapons. There are also stories about missing nuclear weapons and Putin's supposedly unstoppable missile ending up at the bottom of the sea like in the James Bond movie. I find it all hard to believe, but okay. I've covered it in my previous broadcast as well. Oh yeah, then I can finally read this and then we can continue the article. So, Stephen Mnuchin, donor, Trump Victory Fund member, Trump Economic Advisory Council, National Finance Chairman, Donald J. Trump for President, Executive Committee member, Trump Presidential Transition Team, Secretary, United States Department of the Treasury. Wikipedia/wiki/Stephen_Mnuchin. Elon Musk, Ashkenazic Jew, North European member, President Trump's Strategic and Policy Forum. So these are some interesting names on the list of the Jewish cabal on the now removed thezog.info. So that can be an indication that could really get your website removed, and these websites may have been removed for anti-Semitic, racist, or homophobic content. The chopper is flying over in the Netherlands. Ah, there it goes. I like it. It flies almost directly over my house. I filmed it also. I could upload some more videos made with my Lumix G7. And recently I uploaded one of strange lightning in the Netherlands. And what was strange about it, it was continuous lightning. I've never seen anything like it before in my whole life. Continuous lightning without thunder strikes. And I filmed it. It's on this channel, try Something.Vegetarian. And also on universalpeace.jimdo.com, if you scroll to the bottom, then you can see a pyramid-shaped UFO charging itself with lightning, I think in Taiwan. And it's a genuine news agency that reported about this. And it looks kind of real. So they may have a man-made pyramid-shaped flying saucer that flies upside down, sort of, with the point pointing to Earth. And the Chinese people, or the people in Taiwan, Japanese people, I'd have to check Taiwan. I think I checked it previous time as well. Taiwan, officially the Republic of China, is a state in East Asia. Chinese Freemasons exist as well. And most people, basically China may be the country that holds most people, second India, both with about 1.4 billion, and the US with 327 million. I already mentioned this before. And so they may have no intention to destroy Europe. I'd have to check how many people live in Europe, because total global population is 7.5 billion, 2 times 1.4, 2.8. So not even half of the world's global population lives in China plus India plus the US. Those are the top 3 countries with most people. I mean, the people that want to reduce the global population to 500 million. So yeah, then I can mention that 28 EU member states have rejected Trump's annexation of West Bank and Gaza. So then Europe should also watch out and help to prevent the world war and create universal peace for their own good, for the good of humanity, and also the good of the wonderfully whistling birds outside our window. Then I can finally continue reading the article.
Founded the city. 33. During the 16th century, more crypto-Jews had faced persecution from the Inquisition and local authorities in nearby Potosi, La Paz and La Plata moved to Santa Cruz, as it was the most isolated urban settlement and because the Inquisition did not bother the conversos there. 34. Some settled in the city of Santa Cruz and its adjacent towns, including Valle Grande, Puerto Urval, Portachuelo, Tirivando, Pucara, Bolivia, and Cotoca. 35. Several of the oldest Catholic families in Santa Cruz are of Jewish ancestry. Some families still practice certain traditions of Judaism. As recently as the 1920s, several families preserved 7-branched candlesticks and served dishes cooked with kosher practices. 34. It is still customary among certain old families to light candles on Friday at sunset and to mourn the deaths of close relatives by sitting on the floor. 33. After almost 5 centuries, some of the descendants of these families acknowledge having some Jewish ancestry, but practiced Catholicism. Costa Rica. Some crypto-Jews established themselves in the outskirts of San Jose, Costa Rica in the 16th century. They passed as Catholics in public and practiced their Jewish rituals in privacy. In the town of Escazú, modern-day Escazú, some crypto-Jewish families did not maintain secrecy. Locals started to associate their rituals and unintelligible prayers in Hebrew with witchcraft. Since then, Escazú has been known in Costa Rican folklore as the City of the Witches. Elsewhere in Latin America, in addition to these communities, Roman Catholic professing communities descended from male crypto-Jews are said to exist in the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Jamaica, Puerto Rico 36, and in various other countries of South America, such as Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Venezuela, Chile, Peru and Ecuador. From these communities comes the proverb, Catholic by faith, Jewish by blood. Notable crypto-Jews Antonio Fernandes Carvalhal was a Portuguese merchant in London. Like other Marranos in London, Carvalhal prayed at the Catholic chapel of the Spanish ambassador, while simultaneously playing a leading role in the secret Jewish community, which met at the clandestine synagogue at Church Lane. 37. Isaac Cardoso was a Jewish physician, philosopher, and polemic writer, who was born in Portugal but ultimately settled in Italy.
So I just showed an image of Vanessa Hayden just because I think she looks pretty. Good photograph.
For a time he went by the name Fernando to evade the Inquisition. After finding safe haven in Verona, he openly embraced Judaism, becoming a leading scholar in Italy. Speculative crypto-Jews, because of the hidden nature of their lives, The identities of some historical crypto-Jews can only be guessed at by scholars. There are some notable examples of persons who are speculated by some scholars of having been crypto-Jews, though there is as yet no consensus.
Single ladies are welcome, and of course I can still convert to the Muslim religion, Judaism, Christianity, whatever. So perhaps you need to be my guide and my rod and staff, etc. Not God.
See also Anusing Conversos Crypto-Christianity Crypto-Paganism Crypto-Hinduism Doctrine of Mental Reservation Damas Conversal Urim Donma History of the Jews in Latin America History of the Jews in the Netherlands Jewish Ethnic Divisions Jewish History Judaism in Mexico Judaizers Limpzina Sangre Marano Moresco New Christian Sephardic Jews in India Taka Iya Who is a Jew?
Davicho.
The CDC did. The CDC.
So it sounds like dissy, the CDC. Well, I think it's disgusting what they've done, and I'm against these killer vaccines. The list of pandemics caused by vaccinations makes clear that they've done it many times before, these medical cartel people. And then they want us to believe that it's normal to add mercury to their killer vaccines, while mercury by itself destroys your brain waves. You can see a video on YouTube of some university that uploaded through a microscope. You can see these brain cells disappear literally. Mercury causes brain neuron degeneration, okay? So they first want to get rid of our brains and take away our instinct for self-preservation. The T4 nanobot also makes that clear. There's a story about that. And that can be spread in cancer chemtrails and be absorbed by our skin. So it's a good idea to wear a coat that is made out of plastic or rubber or whatever that keeps you dry and warm. And to immunize yourselves against their designer viruses with colloidal silver. And also use probiotics to replace the good bacteria in your gut. Other people have reported about these health freaks, basically, with bodybuilders and other healthy people that want to live as healthily as possible, that understand that to make others healthy and be the best we can be, it's necessary to be healthy. So they take it seriously, and it's a good idea to first read upon it, but not to take the killer vaccines, but do immunize yourself, because these designer viruses are real. You can Google Wix Ebola about Ebola Lassa Tecmira Camera, and that was after Professor Ivanka talked about his plan to reduce the global population with airborne Ebola reston. Of course, you also have George Soros, Rockefeller, and others. And it's possible they are all extorted with remote torture technology. And if that's the case, you could argue they're innocent, even if they've committed murder, because they can remotely torture and murder people with this technology, and many people are in the know about this already. So they're already programmed to do whatever it wants them to. They are conditioned, perhaps also hypnotized during their sleep. If that was done successfully, they wouldn't remember it. And it's possible that they were even severely tortured and they don't remember that. So we're dealing with an advanced, possibly strong AI neural network. And the one golden rule we all have to keep if we want to end up in a perfect society where maximum fulfillment is bestowed upon us all, then we have to keep the golden rule, and that is never to transgress against people's right to their physical integrity. Never get physical no matter what they say. And you could also consider the idea that people should be allowed to say anything, also racist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic things. Also advocate population reduction. And that the synthetic telepathy machine will enforce one law, that is protect all humans' physical integrity, so no human can ever attack another human again. So they have the right to freedom of thought, and as soon as they are taking steps to actually do something to harm someone else or kill someone else, then it should make them faint or hurt their arm or make it impossible for them to walk. First, if possible, illegal, then it's legal to give people a voice-to-skull message. If they're using scalar technology with healing frequencies, then you could argue they're not in violation of your right to physical integrity. Actually, they're protecting you, and perhaps it will be necessary if we want to live eternally. I think that this technology will be used to make people eternal, and that all factors that control aging can be controlled with it, for we are energy. So we are a bunch of molecules, the air is a bunch of molecules, that's energy, electrons, protons, neutrons, and that neural network with wireless energy, they can do these attacks very accurately. They have through-the-wall radar, and it is possible that I have advocated illegal things in the past, but not to the extent that it would justify torturing my mother to death and my teeth out of my mouth. So is there Inquisition still ongoing? It's another important question. Some people are claiming this of the Jesuits and Masons. Some claim Jesuits are homo, pedo, negro cannibals, and that they have to eat an infant. The Pope has to eat an infant as part of his initiation. And that in reality they are satanic pedophiles that pretend to be Christians, but in reality they may be a military order, and religion is part of their psychological warfare, including Luciferianism, Satanism, etc., Christianity, and of course Islam. And there's a picture of the Pope kissing the feet of Muslims, but also others, I think. What's this? President-elect Trump announces presidential inaugural committee leadership. So this is a very long list with pictures, so... But perhaps they just failed to pay the money to keep their site up, or they decided for some other reason to remove it. Flip-flopping neo-Nazi used to back Trump, now bless his quote Jew-loving and quote Jerusalem. I can't read it all that fast. Who controls eBay, who controls Apple, Yahoo, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Wikimedia? Who controls the internet? Who controls the media? Corporate media, Hollywood, television, music, radio, advertising, and the news. Who controls banking? Who controls the economy, Wall Street? Well, some people argue they should end the Fed, others that, like President Trump, that the Federal Reserve Bank should be audited. So they should go through all their spendings and then look at if there are unnecessary or wrong spendings that are not benefiting the American taxpayer, and then change that if it's the case. What they spend, they get basically, what taxpayer money, and they are ruled by majority vote. And if most of these people are Jewish, then you could argue they have most influence on that. Who controls Goldman Sachs? Who controls JP Morgan Chase? Treasury Department, Federal Reserve System? Government? Well, I guess they think that it's the Zog, it's the Jews, but in reality it's the Jesuits and Masons with these remote torture devices, the voice of God weapon, or God basically, and Satan on their side, and they can let them do anything they want to. Government, who controls the White House, who controls the Senate, the Congress, Supreme Court, State Department, Justice Department, Defense Department, Treasury Department, Supreme Court, the judicial system, the educational system. US Supreme Court, John G. Roberts, Chief Justice, Northern European. So, there are only 3, here. Of the 8 US Supreme Court justices, 4 are Jews or partial Jews, so that's only half. This is a numerical representation of 50%. Jews are approximately 2% of the US population, of the worldwide population. Therefore, Jews are overrepresented among the US Supreme Court justices by a factor of 25 times. So yeah, I think that power doesn't always corrupt, and that it's possible that the mainstream media can bring unbiased news, even if 100% of them are Jews, which is not the case. Jewish population of the United States by state. You could also argue, well, perhaps they should have some more non-Jewish people. But is the mainstream media really as fake as Donald Trump claims? Or is like 95% of what they report truthful and accurate news, basically? Oh, no comments. So that's... well, you could also argue, who controls the Supreme Court? Isn't it the POTUS, the president? And if Trump is Jewish, the Jew? No. Well, they would argue it's the Chief Justice, John G. Roberts, and he's a Northern European. But this may be from, 2017, April 29th, 2017. Well, okay, that's more recent than I thought then. Globalism, who controls the Group of 30, Bilderberg Group, the Round Table, I add that myself, Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations, and Society, who controls Donald Trump. Well, do you have to write about that one then? Donald Trump's Jewish cabal. So I don't believe in electronic voting. Nikola Tesla's technology is real. So scalar technology has made electronic voting an impossibility. So they cannot prove to me that they don't let the people they want to win with a small majority every time. And that electronic voting has never been fair voting, that they've always controlled the outcome with this technology. So these are black ops, secret programs, projects like geoengineering, synthetic telepathy, etc. So they might even deny it, basically, the program to lie to people. Many religious people as well, Muslims have taqiyya, basically. But that's another matter. So that's with TAQ, no, with TAK or whatever. This is that's who controls Donald Trump. So that's that long list. Well, that doesn't prove that they control him at all. Basically, if they've financed him donations or whatever, that doesn't mean that he's controlled by them. So you could argue it's a wrong way to express that. Who is behind the climate change fraud? Well, the NASA Freemasons basically have a website about this. So first you'd have to prove it's not natural global warming, ice ages, warm periods that occurs naturally. So you'd have to prove that it's not natural global warming, and secondly, that these measures they've planned could do anything about it. And thirdly, another important point, let's see if I can find it in the chat remarks. I doubt it. Perhaps I didn't put it in here yet. Diversity, I'll get to the diversity remark later. Chlorine and rocket propellant destroying ozone. How can any government seriously concerned about climate change allow for this? And that's related to diversity, basically. Or this remark with diversity for all countries but Israel, where 5G is produced but not used. Put it in airplane mode or keep it away from you. Selfie stick when doing live broadcasts. Destroy 5G. So in reality, the cancer risk increase is too much, too high. It damages people's DNA, chromosomes, and there's a reproducible test you can do at home that shows you that if you use a cancer cell phone for over 90 seconds, you have lumping red blood cells, a symptom known to doctors as rouleau, and they will try to pretend it's not proven yet, though there are studies that have proven this beyond any reasonable doubt. On 999prologic 999.blog2blog.nl you can find the study at the top, and you read that page and you see the study that I'm referring to. And if you have a microscope, you could buy a microscope and you can do the test yourself to prove that cancer cell phones cause lumping red blood cells. And also the MRI scans show the tumors on the sides of the heads where people kept their cancer cell phone to their head. So these safety standards are unsafety standards in reality. So why does this matter also in relation to global warming, potential man-made global warming? So I can read this part.
Unite all countries to bestow maximum fulfillment upon humanity. Peaceinspace.blogs.com updated. Model Statute and World Treaty Conference banning 5G, due directed energy and neurotic mind control weapons. The 5G infrastructure would pose a threat to our planet's atmosphere. Network implementation will require the deployment of many, short lifespan satellites via suborbital rockets propelled by hydrocarbon rocket engines. According to this 2010 California study, launching too many of these babies will vomit enough black carbon into the atmosphere to pollute global atmospheric conditions, affecting distribution of ozone and temperature. Worse, solid-state rocket exhaust contains chlorine, an ozone-destroying chemical. How can any government seriously concerned about climate change allow for this? Stop 5G. Why not news.eu? It is well known cancer cell phone radiation, Microwaves heat up the Earth's atmosphere as well. Cancer-causing microwave ovens are an offense. It's true, cancer microwave ovens are best known for heating up matter, mainly food. Unsafety standards make people believe otherwise. It is known the microwaves heat up the air and our body temperature and contribute to global warming. Hirata A. Matsuyama S. Shizawa T. 2000. Temperature rises in the human eye exposed to M waves in the frequency range 0.6 to 6 GHz, IEEE trans, electroman, compat. 42, 386 393. Does anybody know how much the UMTS, GSM, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi LANs heat up our environment exactly? By how many degrees Celsius? Stop UMTS.nl.
So yeah, I protested against cancer UMTS antennas as well in Amsterdam, and also to boycott McDonald's because they were cutting rainforests. I was baking pancakes in front of McDonald's in Amsterdam with a friend. Peace to Gerard. He's into information technology, I think. Can't he control these remotely controlled insects? We cool. And resistance will save me after all. Like Neo in the Matrix. But I doubt it, so I won't mention his last name. I don't know how this broadcast will be received by YouTube and the YouTube community, if it will be received at all.
Israel is building a nuclear weapon, is that correct? Global warming is real, where the environment heating and cancer causing 5G is produced but not used. Destroy 5G, prevent World War III. Among the Israeli's 5G mobile network auction by mid-2019, Reuters. Global warming is real, where the environment heating and cancer causing 5G is produced but not used. Destroy 5G, prevent World War III. Among the 2019 Montreux Bilderberg participants we find, Kissinger, Henry A., USA, Chairman, Kissinger Associates Incorporated, Kushner, Jared, USA, Senior Advisor to the President, the White House Petraeus, David H., USA, Chairman, KKR Global Institute. He served as Director of the Central Intelligence Agency from September 6, 2011, until his resignation on November 9, 2012. Rutt, Mark, NLD, Prime Minister Bilderbergmeetings.org. Pompeo and Kushner head to Bilderberg meeting, a mysterious gathering of the global elite. WashingtonPost.com. Pompeo is not on the list, so that means the Bilderbergmeetings.org list is not complete. Soros, Rockefeller and Rothschild are not on the list. If you're not on the list, you are not coming in. Global warfare. We're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan and Iran. Democracy Now! March 2, 2007, Polish Acts of Atrocity Against the German Minority in Poland, 2nd edition with important addenda 5.0 out of 5 stars, Amazon.com, Moderatorium. Is ISIS going to do another false flag attack in the US like the WTC attack to kick off the Third Jesuit World War? What do the following events have in common? 9/11 World Trade Center, Pentagon London subway bombings, 7/75, Oklahoma City bombing, the Estonia catastrophe, 852 dead, Norway Oslo attack, 77 dead, Sandy Hook Elementary School, Aurora, Colorado, Batman shooting Taft Union High School, Jan 10, 2013, Boston Marathon, April 15, 2013. Answer: live terror drills were conducted, same scenario, same day, either on location or very close. The media ignores this completely. They are terror drills that went live. This is no conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy fact. Facebook.com/citizens.action.network. This is no conspiracy, it is fact was changed by me into, this is no conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy fact, because the text this is no conspiracy, it is fact suggests that conspiracy facts do not exist and, of course, they do exist. Twitter.com/#/falseflag. Lang equals N. With all the funding they have given terrorists to destabilize countries to steal their cancer oil, how can we expect anything else but another false flag attack? The illusion has to be kept going for a number of reasons, to have an excuse for their third Jesuit World War and to reduce the global population, to give the government more power and the people less.
So I think it's fun. Let's read the rest of my most recent writings and collections of intel, sublimated intel, if you will, for your survival is all.
And there are two ways they could create their planned world war to impose their totalitarian global government. 1. ISIS attacks in the US and other countries around the world. 2. A false flag type of event comparable to the sinking of the Lusitania. False flag 1, 1915 sinking the Lusitania. YouTube. CIA-funded terrorist attacks are usually not seen as false flag attacks. The Committee of 300 are also involved in funding terrorists and attacks, so check them out online as well. They are the subversive body of the Club of Rome. Taiwan Tattoo Tattoo. Israel strikes Syria after rockets fired at Golan Heights. News.com 4 hours ago. Statism. The ridiculous idea that a bunch of idiots who have driven this country $21 trillion in debt are more qualified to run your life than you are. Facebook.com/citizens.action.network. Who is Cyber Command? You. Anonymity. DOS primarily consists of Microsoft's MS-DOS and a rebranded IBM version under the name PC-DOS, both of which were introduced in 1981. DOS, disk operating system. They do it or not, no matter who or what it is. Just like the 4 ICG seasons, the climate must change. Lethal weapons, United Nations, state of war. Moose, George Orwell quote, in times of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. If we do not act, we are acted upon.
Just like the 4 Ice Age seasons, the climate must change.
Anti-Trump protests real?
The climate must change.
Yes, over 30 protests worldwide, ? Thousands protest Trump. 1,040 plus arrested. Girls just wanna have fun. Dom and all rights. Definition of heterophobia: irrational fear of, aversion to, or discrimination against heterosexual people.
So is there any proof of Donald Trump's supposed racism or xenophobia? And what is that evidence then? Well, he supposedly banned people from Muslim countries, or not? I'd have to check. But Saudi Arabia, according to CNN, more murderers that enter the US come from Saudi Arabia, and that's not listed as an unsafe country from whence they don't accept immigrants. But in relation to that, I would say in countries where no-go zones exist, I'm for closing the borders, for not allowing more immigrants until the no-go zones are integrated, not assimilated. So that's mainly France and the UK, I guess. But I'm, of course, well aware that the influx of immigrants must be regulated, so I'm not for completely opening all borders. Diversity for Israel. I don't know how diverse they are or want to be, but I don't see why they cannot just go for a one-state solution with equal rights for everyone, giving all Palestinians an Israeli passport and right of return, etc. Because I think without equal rights, what we see in Gaza and the Golan, where people are locked up, they cannot even get out if they want to, and with 190 protesters killed in Gaza, that Netanyahu must be blamed and not all Israelis, basically, also in relation to the depleted uranium war crime, claiming that Iraq had supposedly weapons of mass destruction, and now they're claiming of Iran that they think they are trying to produce a nuclear weapon, though they have nuclear weapons themselves. They are not a signatory country to the NPT. But they don't have any evidence that can prove that Iran has even got one nuke, basically. So you could argue these are illegal sanctions. And are there arrangements for the event that cancer oil transports would take place to India and China? If Trump has forbidden this, then the question is what will happen if that could trigger a third world war, if they'd sink one of their vessels. So, yeah, then Putin should have an agreement with Trump about this, of course. Does Trump sound better than Drumpf? Drumpf. Drumpf, 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 Drumpf. Trump, 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 Trump. Phew, I find it hard to answer, but let me know what you all think in the comments. That's way more important. You are more important. Okay.
How about fraternities, so-called secret societies only males can join? Discrimination of women seems to be allowed? When Jesus comes. Leaders of come probably, whack back to happiness, a virtual prison built of illusions and lies. This is what technocracy looks like, not Shatsi but Shiatsu. Any publicity is bad publicity, so it's okay if the ozone layer disappears because of space travel, chlorine in rocket propellant. They look but they.
So basically it's well, perhaps it's meant like a joke also, but they say any publicity is good publicity. When people are trying to sell something, when their name is mentioned, then people can go for that, and if they have never heard of it, then they can't buy it either. So to a certain extent, I think any publicity is good publicity is true. Any publicity is bad publicity. Can that ever be true? Well, if you want to hide yourself from existence and from the mainstream media, from the world, then you could argue for those people it's true.
They don't see it, they don't hear when it's in their ear. Policenia, this is SWAT, democracy, look. Like, a SWAT, special weapons and tactics, team is a law enforcement unit which uses specialized or military equipment and tactics. If they have an illegal black project or operation involving reducing the US and/or global population
in their ear, it's not gonna happen.
what could be done about it? Who could do something about it? The taxpayers have paid to be protected and served, so they have a right to be protected and served. It is what everyone that is part of the government is supposed to do. The United Arab Emirates told United Nations Security Council members that attacks on 4 tankers off its coast on May 12 bore the hallmarks of a sophisticated and coordinated operation, most likely by a state actor, a United States actor perhaps, almost a goal. Iran says Mossad fabricating intelligence on oil tanker attacks. International Al Monitor 22 hours ago. Grail sounds a bit like Cray.com. Cray sounds a bit like Gray area, the brain. Gray aliens do not exist, but alien-like GMO organisms can be produced. Nuclear Armageddon equals more nukes going off simultaneously than ever before. If Earth would spin off axis, could it crash into the moon because of its circulatory trajectory? Nicola Gay, Trump admin tells U.S. embassies they can't fly pride flag on flagpoles. Washington, the Trump administration is rejecting requests from U.S. embassies to fly the rainbow pride flag on embassy flagpoles.
Nicola Gay is basically a mixture of Enola Gay and Nikola Tesla.
During June, LGBTQ, NBC News, perhaps it would be more acceptable if it was flagged just one day, the May Day Gay Day. That's the idea. How tolerant is America banned? In the time of religion, telling the truth is an act that is punishable by death. Everybody inhales.
So it's a joke also, because there might not be a Nicole, a gay Nicole basically, but it could also mean happy, but in the sense of homosexual, then it would be a transgender person, not a person labeling themselves as gay or homosexual.
Otherwise they're dead. Tell me what technocracy looks like. This is what technocracy looks like.
So that's my point. It's a fictional person. It's not about you or anybody else. And these things are separated by one line basically. So these are all statements that can be looked at as art or utterings in and of themselves. They can also be messages of the perpetrators trying to set me up and play you out against me. They can be absurd humor, absurd less, etc. Satires.
Technocracy, the government or control of society or industry by an elite of technical experts. Synthetic telepathy, reality. Whose treaties? Our treaties. Project Mockingbird is real. And did they get it to mock or not? Know your rights, rights. Key Rail saw. Let them prove their inquisition is not going on anymore. Incels or members of an online subculture who define themselves as unable to find a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one, a state they describe as inceldom. Self-identified incels are largely white and are almost exclusively male heterosexuals. The term is a portmanteau of involuntary celibates. Incel, lonely, cannot post message and bottle stop. Because I attempted to press charges against Jewish people that advocate a population reduction to 500 million, they are torturing me to death with directed energy weapons. They are using me as a scapegoat to reduce the global population and to show what happens to people that interfere with their long-planned world war and people that don't kill themselves for the earth now. Anti-Goyimism, Goyim revolution. Many people are convinced Trump is a crypto-Jew because, 1. The Trumps changed their name from Drumpf, German Jewish name, to Trump. 2. Both of Trump's parents died in a Jewish nursing home. 3. Trump's brother was in a Jewish fraternity at college. Crypto-Judaism is the secret adherence to Judaism while publicly professing to be of another faith. Practitioners are referred to as crypto-Jews, origin from Greek kryptos-hidden, wiki. Crypto-Judaism. Was Ivanka's conversion stage to hide Trump as Jewish? How was Trump's brother able to join a Jewish college fraternity? Shebbe Goyim Harog. What it really means are, Shimon ben Yochai taught, Gil, even, the good among the gentiles in wartime. Talmud Sofrim 1510 fishesbabushka.com.
In wartime, comparable to jihad, two wrongs don't make a right, etc. And I think I might be more in line with the Committee of 300 on religion and the Novus Ordo Seclorum, the secular world order. And some other people are. And I've always said that I'm not per se against the global government. Is it in the benefit of the people? Is it chosen by and for the people? Or not? I think that counts. And what they've planned, a population reduction to 500 million, that's insane. And that they are a lot worse than Hitler if they advocate that, you could argue. But in reality, again, two wrongs don't make a right. So Hitler was not a hero because of his imperialism. I'm cleaning a pipe, which I always do. So this was the whole broadcast. Please like, subscribe, and share this important broadcast on your timeline. So I'm completely anti-racism, anti-homophobia. And you could argue I'm an anti-fascist, antifa, but I'm not a member of any group, so I'm in reality an independent reporter. I am anti-Semitism as well, which is sometimes wrongly interpreted by people, because it is used in the sense that the Germans used it. So not in the sense of anti-all Semites, anti-Muslim, etc., but only in the sense of anti-Jewish. And many people don't know that, but you can see it on Wikipedia, the CIA Vatican edited encyclopedia as well. So that's wiki/anti-Semitism, or something like that. Yeah. If there's any misinformation or anything anti-Semitic in this broadcast, or anything else that would be in violation of the YouTube policy, please let me know, then I'll remove this broadcast and or edit out the thing that is anti-Semitic or in violation of the YouTube policy. So basically pure anti-Semitism is something evil, because blaming whole groups like racism and homophobia, that's evil because many of these people, most of them are good people that have never killed anyone, and it can lead to hate speech. Also had thoughts in my head that I didn't want to utter, and I think most people are not anti-Semites, racist, nor homophobic. The Dutch people, Netherlands, Holland is quite tolerant. And there are many great, awesome people out there. I could also do some more broadcasts in Dutch, if my channel stays online. Because you could argue that it is anti-Semitic to talk about Crypto-Judaism. I'm thinking about this. So you could see it from one point of view. It's like about people that were prosecuted, that tried to hide that they're Jewish because they're afraid of other persecution and anti-Semitic people out there. So we shouldn't expose them, but try to help cover up that they are possibly crypto-Jews. But in reality, when it affects the POTUS, basically, then you could argue they have the right to know. With Obama, for example, that Michelle Obama is a male, but now she is transgender, basically. She still has a penis, according to sources online. But I think that is no valid argument. It's an argumentum ad hominem that homosexuals can rule the country just as well as heterosexuals. And I think Obama has proven, at least, that he didn't create a world war, and he did quite well or not, I don't know. But he wasn't as evil as Bush, I guess, with the depleted uranium kiddies, etc. I think that many people think that Bush and Netanyahu are wicked people, and others are programmed to see them as really good leaders, basically. And I don't believe, once again, I don't believe in electronic voting. But what did I start out about? I was talking about Trump and Obama. I had a vision of me and Obama playing basketball. Perhaps it was real with synthetic telepathy. You could argue it's real to a certain extent. But I think he's nice. He's not the baddest either. And about Trump, well, I don't know if that's their plan and if he could do anything else. I mean, we saw the assassination of Kennedy, and many people have. And he was also about, so perhaps that's why he can't audit the Fed. Perhaps they wouldn't, the powers that be or that control these leaders, wouldn't allow him to audit the Fed. And perhaps that's their big plan, basically, their military order posing as a religious order. So total domination, and what other goals could military orders have? Total control, a perfect society in which people can live happily eternally. And with this technology spreading also via the patents, the question is, could more doomsday cults arise, a la Aleph, formerly Om Shinrikyo, that could let our planet explode with this technology? And does it become too uncontrollable unless we reduce the global population to 500 million? You could argue that could be the only valid argument for that. If you have a time-traveling neural network, could it see if the Earth exploded at a certain point, and it wouldn't be there after that? So perhaps it can see possible timelines and things like that. I know time travel is possible because I've had precognitive visions, and I doubt if they're my own, because of the fact that first precognitive vision was seen through an eye-tech camera. So it's a synthetic telepathy machine, and it can't see you from the thin air, though it has through-the-wall radar, so they can see us in 3D. But the idea is it sees the future through your eyes or a camera. Or it's my own ability, precognitive ability formed by evolution, and many people have psychic powers in reality. So I'm not capable of proving that they're my own visions or induced by a neural network. And it doesn't make sense that on the one hand it tortures my teeth out of my mouth and my mother to death, and on the other hand shows me precognitive visions of me making love with my girlfriend, my first girlfriend, Aisha. Peace. You're awesome. And other precognitive visions that I don't even remember at this time, perhaps if I think about it. So that's about 2 weeks before it happened. So how far can it see into the future? And what would be the best I'd have to know more about how it works to help with the creation of the perfect society and promoting, funding, controlling all factors that control aging, I think, is key. And also education is the key to universal peace creation. Oh yeah, I could read some more of my recent chat remarks. But I'd rather put it on picture show, legalize it then is a better one with animated stuff.
Legal rights stand.
So that's what some people call YouTube poop. It's made with the jungle.horse website. HORSE, jungle horse. And it takes you to the new website basically. So that's not really Trump saying this, but a text-to-speech engine that uses samples of his voice. Alright, this is the other one I was looking for.
I'm going to create a third world war to build a temple in Jerusalem for my judgment and to reduce the global population to 500 million.
So that's satire, of course, but it's still best to be prepared for the worst and go for the best, I think. And I think it would be better for all of us if we all had the same programming things that I talk about in my broadcast, but these 10 commandments and driving on the right side of the road makes sense. So do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the pedo law. Basically, that's Luciferian. Jay-Z and others may be associated with that, like the UN, Lucifer UN, Luciferian UN, Luciferian UN. Okay, what was I doing? I forgot what I wanted to look up. Oh yeah, chat remarks. Illuminati Blood Oath murders list is online at Owen Benjamin, so I thought it might be a subject that interests him that he could do a broadcast about. Thou shalt not kill, etc. Perhaps it's a good idea to look at more Eric Dubé quotes. So you should all check Eric Dubé's Voluntarious rep. I think it's awesome. Soldiers stop being heroes when they leave their own homeland. You can't defend America by fighting overseas, and there's nothing in the Middle East but Israel's enemies. Come back home, guys. They washed your mind with lies and sent you all to FAQ King. Die. Eric Dubé, the best controlled opposition flat earther, perhaps, because I'm not even sure if he's controlled the position, and some flat earthers may just be misprogrammed to believe the earth is flat, and other ideas they have may be truthful and accurate, you know, so they're just mixing that deliberately so they can put people that tell the truth about certain matters away as being psychotic. That's one of their techniques to control the masses, to label the undesirables as mentally ill. A king is not as good as his advisors. Sometimes kings have ideas themselves as well, so it's total nonsense. Radiological water filter, storable food, possibly minimum requirements to survive any nuclear type event. Iran has no nukes, so any sanctions are unjustified and perhaps even illegal. Guns don't kill people, people kill guns. That's humor, basically. US spend more on the bloody war machine than all other countries combined. Military industrial complex costofwar.com. Are patriots like missiles ready to be fired? Is it wrong of Trump to call whole countries Schiphol countries? Apoptosis, the death of cells, which occurs as a quote normal quote and controlled part of an organism's growth or development. One of the factors that control aging, exclamation mark. Massive European, I'm not even going to read that. Well, massive European elections, voting fraud, Nikola Tesla's scalar radiant energy used to rig elections. Basically, the votes in the Netherlands were counted by hand for the seats in the UN Senate or the European whatever Parliament. I think the latter. And well, I don't know if afterwards they counted it by hand, but if there was a computer involved later. So did they count the total and then write it down, or did they put all the totals they counted by hand into a computer that calculated the total? Then it's still possible that Tesla technology was involved. Otherwise, I would argue it's probably the programming via mainstream media, the internet, etc., that made them really vote for the people they voted for. And Geert Wilders lost 3 seats. And I think Tommy Robinson did not get enough votes. And that's weird if so many people protested for his release. And that it's not right when child traffickers and rapists are released on bail and Tommy Robinson is put in jail for something other people did as well, supposedly. The charge was disturbing the peace. So I'm anti-religion, and 2 wrongs don't make a right, but I agree with de-Islamization, de-religionization through education, and people have rights. So they only have to keep the golden rule, and then we're on our way to the world to come, basically a perfect society in which we all will live happily eternally. That's the idea. GDan73 wrote 5G is military tech, it's a weapon. I added, if it uses microwaves, it increases your cancer risk. Cancer cell phone radiation causes lumping red blood cells. A reproducible test people can do at home. Try something vegan or vegetarian. Take sufficient amounts of vitamin B12, then it is healthiest to be vegan. Air cleaner with ionizer, purify air and water. Earth is spherical, entities do not exist, don't let them fool you. The polluters must pay for cleaning the air and look for cleaner alternatives. Many top athletes and superstars are vegan, and the amount of vegans and vegetarians is growing steadily. Animal protein, and especially animal fat, increase your cancer risk. Become vegan or vegetarian, just make sure you take enough vitamin B12. Otherwise, it's not healthier to be vegan or vegetarian if you don't get your vitamin B12. And I've listed it in a broadcast as well. So there are lists of foods, top 10 foods with vitamin B12, vegetarian foods. And also for vegetarians, there are websites for sources of vitamin B12 spray, for example. You can get on eBay, methylcobalamin and other. And it may be best to take in fluid form. And there are also tablets, but that's hydrolyzed, so it's better to take vitamin spray. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, Libya, Sudan, Yemen, and Iran, where they want permanent bases for their third Jesuit World War? ? There is no honor in killing your fellow humans. The illegal wars in the Middle East and funding terrorists is despicable and must be stopped. Democrats, Republicans, left, right, red and green are illusions they hide behind, created to give you the illusion you have a choice, while they control both sides in reality. I want you to burn a Quran, burn a Satanic Bible, burn a Bible, and burn a Talmud to prevent the next ice age, but make sure you film it and put it on YouTube. Radioactive Banana wrote, UN is letting Israel genocide the Palestinians and Saudis slaughter the Yemens. Your Geneva Convention on War is total BS and you do not follow it. This was on the website of the UN, they also broadcast sometimes, I think. Radioactive Banana, anything the UN says, there is always another horror story behind it. None can be believed. They are the NWO ! Radioactive Banana writes, pay no mortgages and rent July 1st until the deep state NWO is arrested worldwide. I can not advise you to go along with that. Perhaps it's illegal to advocate this. If you don't pay, then they will come to take your stuff away, and it might cause too much trouble, and nobody understands why you're doing it if it is to arrest. Until the deep state NWO is arrested, there is no New World Order yet, only the one that I created, and people can join my global government movement or my anti-global government movement, or my flat earth society, my spherical earth society, ball-shaped earth society, which also exposes the NASA Freemasons. And my global government was erected only to prevent a satanic Luciferian totalitarian global government from being imposed upon the people of planet Earth, and without you all, we have no power, we do not exist, you could argue. So I wrote another thing that I'm not going to read out. Radioactive banana. Someone said the UN is peace, question mark. US has been 67 wars since World War II. I thought the UN was made to stop all wars. Now they aid trafficking for drugs, weapons and children for the NWO. They love war, exclamation mark. The UN did not bring the people responsible for the depleted uranium war crime to justice. They are a bunch of Luciferians. It is legal to block a working medicine. It is illegal to block a working cure from the public, cocaine, heroin, cannabis, to push their chemical, thus cancer-causing prescription drugs to reduce the global population. Rockefeller drug laws legalize it. A test for World War IV, perhaps. I think I meant to write World War III. But I don't know what chat I wrote that in, so... The nano-death chippy is real, heart attacks, brain bleedings to reduce the global population, you know. No comment. So basically no comment sounds kinda like no command. Use OBS, Open Broadcaster Software, it's free. Oh yeah, I still have the picture show on. I can also put it on the other one, otherwise it gets too boring. Hoppa. Oh yeah. Okay then, have a good night. War on Iran bankrupts us. China and Russia will watch us circle the drain, then take over. Don't know who wrote it. All military are evil murderers that kill their fellow humans and give themselves medals for it, question mark. I ordered a kilogram of organic green tea from eBay. It's awesome. Prayer is evil, it's brainwashing yourself with lies. Do more. Guns don't kill people, people kill guns. Illuminati Blood Oath Murders list is online. How can they allow people that advocate population reduction, but at the same time ban racists, homophobes and anti-Semites that don't advocate annihilating 7 billion people with airborne Ebola? Occult, with a D, occult. A world war must be avoided to prevent MAD and control factors that control aging as soon as possible in reality. Universal peace now. It's the Jesuits and Masons, and they control Putin as well. All intel agencies are Masonic and controlled by the Jesuits. Russia is a so-called superpower. Trump should have agreements with Putin about Iran before taking any action to make World War III an impossibility. Destroy 5G. We all need peace, not war. Peace out, y'all. They use a camouflaged V-Barre antenna park bigger than HARP. They are not globalists, but imperialists. Illegal wars, Middle East, immigrants, including terrorists flooding borderless countries. So, put my t-shirt on, light my pipe to set the right example. Only allowed if I don't lol it. No, in reality, it's best never to start smoking tobacco. It's physically addictive, it narrows down your consciousness, and there are many reports that show online that it increases your cancer risk. So even if there are some health benefits, if it kills, for example, what might kill me basically, and other smokers, supposedly, some people claim smoking kills, but if it also kills the designer viruses contained in chemtrails, then that could be a health benefit. I don't know if it could also counter Alzheimer's and other things. But there's one person that claimed that these lungs we see, supposedly of smokers, are in reality coal mine worker lungs. Oh, they do a door effect thing. Or not. I mean, it can also happen by accident. Thriller night. Deep inside your body. In reality, I hold you tight. That's right. So yeah, if you're a single lady between 16 and 60, you are welcome for that free shiatsu hand massage, and perhaps more. So how controlled are we? That finger, was that my own idea to move my finger, this pointing finger? Run to the light. So yeah, 27,000 times less variants are required to induce equivalent disease when dispersed in aerosol form. Netscape.com. So what else would be interesting to say in this broadcast? Well, I could just keep on broadcasting 24 hours a day. And I think they really may have planned this Third World War because of that Red Heifer prediction. And also because of some other things that I've covered in my broadcast on this channel. And that if that will affect 7 billion people negatively or even kill them, then that's a bigger thing to prevent than many other things. So that's why my previous broadcasts, though they are, you would argue, solely for vegetarians, well, that's not true, they're for all people that haven't tortured me. But it is true that the idea is that I try to give the best knowledge that I have to create that perfect society as fast as possible. In my first broadcast, it was more aimed towards vegetarians, revealing secrets that I don't even reveal to the rest of the people, the cadaver eaters, meat eaters out there. So don't kill anyone unless you are certain that it is a murderer, you have evidence that proves it beyond any reasonable doubt, and you've tried all legal ways, basically. That means attempting to press charges, visiting the police, and some other things. And then if they don't do what they're supposed to, because the judges with their satanic togas are controlled by them and they're not enforcing the law, they are privileging certain groups of people, for example, Masons. You have, I mentioned it in another broadcast, hebephilia and pedophilia overlap. So they could put the label hebephile on the Masons and the others are labeled pedophiles to make it look like they are enforcing the law. But in reality they have a whole pedo network, and I've heard accusations that there are also Muslim people that help to supply them with children and stuff in Great Britain. But I'm sure there are lots of non-Muslims helping, and that most Muslims are not involved in this, you know. For example, I'm certain there hasn't been any Muslim attack in the Netherlands, no terrorist attack whatsoever. So I think that all Muslims in our country are peaceful people as long as there is no jihad. They're not involved in murdering and torturing and other illegal activities. And they may have a different culture, so I think that it would be a good idea to give them a leaflet that says, well, no sex with children that have not achieved the age of consent yet, which is 16 in the Netherlands, not 18, and I was surprised at it. I thought it was 18. And yeah, perhaps some other things that would help prevent them from committing any crimes. And of course, Muslims have equal rights, Christians, atheists, everybody must have equal rights if we want to create a perfect society. It's like driving on the right side of the road. You cannot have a couple of people that are allowed to drive on the other side. That wouldn't work, basically. So it's comparable to that. It's whatever. My Misfit base is on 1733. Oh, I thought it was 1738, the other one, but it's also 33, so it is correct time. And today is 9th of June. Yes, 9th of June. So if both Trump and Putin are controlled by them, how could we then prevent their planned world war? Well, of course, terrorists and military, etc., are advised not to strike or do anything that could erupt into a third Jesuit world war. They can say they're going to do it, but then make it look like they were sabotaged themselves or things like that. And of course, they'd always make sure they're never caught. Because I realized they have these remote torture weapons, it's kind of hard for me to give advice. If they have planned to exterminate 7 billion people, then perhaps they are invincible, and perhaps the only way for everyone to stay alive themselves is to do what they demand us to do. But I think that's not true in most cases. However, there is a realistic possibility that they're also torturing me to death, which I've expressed more in previous broadcasts. So I don't want to talk about it now. And these teeth, basically, you could argue, look better than my real teeth did, at least after they were through with their dental torture in pulsed energy projectile mode, which is used for these mobile directed energy weapons. And with the scalar weapons, they can simulate any electromagnetic field. They can generate any electromagnetic fields where the beams converge, like in Ghostbusters, cross the streams, etc. So in reality, they use 2 beams to do this, and a neural network, and they can even do that to me on that plane to Egypt, where I thought, because at that time I thought a world war could happen as well. So why not a holiday to Egypt? And the holiday was very nice. I rode a camel, and we went to Cairo to get my medicine, for which I have a doctor's prescription, cannabis. And then I do love Egypt, nice palm trees, nice pyramids, awesome. So I personally have never been attacked when visiting other countries. Spain and Florida. My mother was attacked once in Florida, but I wasn't there at that time. She was there with my father. So ceasefire can also help to create universal peace. Not to go along with what the pedo elite want us to do. They just want to play us all out against each other, and they're always the ones to tell us who our enemies are, but they're never the ones to fight and to die. So not to do anything illegal, advise against, even against civil disobedience, which some people promote, because then you're lowering yourself to their level. Criminal, they really are criminals. I have my doubts about whether some of them are psychotic, or if the elders of some of them could be Alzheimer patients or whatever. But I think world war must be avoided, and that's easy to see. It's better to have universal peace with all the weapons of mass destruction and the possibility of mutually assured destruction. So I think I've explained it pretty well in this broadcast. And it's better for me if I get something to drink and make a new broadcast about a different subject. And I hope my Jewish friends are still my Jewish friends. And well, basically the reason I didn't contact Jackie and others has to do with that they're married, and it's better for me to find a single female. It's not that I despise them or anything like that, not at all. They've always been kind to me, and they're good people. Obviously, they're not pedo elite involved in reducing the global population, satanic human sacrifice, and other horrible atrocities. They're just civilians, and very nice one. Jackie also has a sense of humor, and he's married now, so he's lucky compared to me, that's for sure. So yeah, he's very welcome if he's watching this broadcast, perhaps. And Bart, I don't know about Bart, if he's still alive. I'd love to know if he's still alive. So perhaps Renee or Jackie know if those were friends in school, basically. So we sort of formed a group, and well, perhaps some things are better left unsaid, but we must expose what must be exposed. And if we do not act, we are acted upon. So try to be an influence, positive influence on reality for our fellow humans and ourselves. I think that's better than lots of ideas others have to offer, and that some of them are illogical or anti-logic, and that we must use logic to achieve that perfect society, and that it's possible because everything is energy. The mic is energy, the air, my eyeball is energy. And cancer cell phone radiation simply warms up the environment. I know that's proven. Perhaps I read it on stopumts.nl somewhere, but it would take some time to find it. So the one study I found is just one example of the eyeball heating up because of microwaves, cancer cell phone radiation. So we should limit that as much as possible and not make more of it. And that they write 5G as a weapon, that has to do with that it's directable, basically. So the idea is that it only is radiating in the direction that it is necessary to communicate for as long as that's necessary. So only the person using it and the other person using it are affected by it the most. All people in between are also affected by it as long as that's going on. So that's why it's a weapon, because they can direct it. But I know they use these scalar weapons for the remote torture and everything. But I also know that 1 in 2 of you will have cancer during your lifetimes, according to Medscape.com. So these are just statistics based on factual statistics, I think, that they are not in on reducing the global population, that they're real scientists, and that they deserve our respect like any other human that hasn't tortured us or done things to make them lose our respect and love and treating them like decent human beings. So any demonization, that's all taboo. We shouldn't engage in this. It can be triggering, and we should do the opposite, love our fellow YouTubers and promote healing things and doing the right thing. Not just expose what is evil, but also giving solutions. With all these 10 population reduction methods, I've also listed the solution, the countermeasures you can take to survive. But I will get something to drink, and so this is the end of this broadcast for now. Thank you all for watching, and tune in next time on Try Something Vegetarian. Peace out.